To build a mecha, my secret stash was exposed by my wife. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction, so please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story and all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter, and if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 101, No Casualties, All Captured. Holy crap, the number 4 agent, who was using a vehicle as cover and lying in ambush behind it to support his teammates' advance, suddenly found himself next to someone who looked exactly like him, wearing the same uniform, carrying the same weapon, and even being the same height and appearance. This startled the number 4 agent. Having someone who looked exactly like him next to him was unsettling for anyone. He turned his gun on the identical person and demanded, "Tell me, who are you?" The number 6 agent, who was crouching beside the number 4 agent and moving alongside him, also turned to see what was happening after hearing the sudden question. How come there are two No 4s? Seeing two identical comrades, the number 6 agent froze slightly. "I'm the real one, he's an imposter." Noticing the number 6 agent's scanning gaze, the number 4 agent warned. The code, although the voice of the number 4 security personnel was indeed familiar, the number 6 security personnel remained cautious and spoke with great vigilance. 153 Although number 4's tone was impatient when delivering the code, it was precisely this tone that made number 6 realize that this number 4 was the real number 4. Now that they had found their true comrade in arms, the two naturally turned their gazes to the fake number 4 beside them. "Speak, who exactly are you?" Just as number 4 and number 6 were looking at the fake number 4 with wary eyes, the fake number 4 finally spoke under their watchful gazes. "I am a simulation created by advisor Sue's Candle Dragon. My purpose in doing this is to help you capture those 2 American spies as soon as possible." As he spoke, the fake number 4 revealed his purpose. In fact, although this was said by the virtual number 4, it was actually Sue's own intention. After hearing what the virtual number 4 said, the two understood why the virtual number 4 had appeared. The two found the idea proposed by virtual number 4 both novel and incredibly impressive. According to virtual number 4's plan, if they followed its instructions, their tracks would be erased by Candle Dragon. At the same time, Jennifer would see a fake version of them. If the mission was carried out this way, they would be completely unharmed, able to infiltrate Jennifer and Charlotte's lives undetected, and the mission's difficulty would be greatly reduced. "We need to confirm this with our boss." Although they were very interested in the mission, they weren't the final decision makers. Whether or not they could proceed depended on Guowen's opinion. Guowen had been in constant contact with the action team, so he listened attentively to everything virtual number 4 said. Although it was virtual number 4 who spoke, Guowen knew that Suzer was the one truly in charge of this mission. At this moment, upon understanding the power of Candle Dragon, Guowen recalled Suzer's earlier words about not needing their protection. Guowen now understood the source of Suzer's confidence. Indeed, Candle Dragon's ability was simply too overpowered. With Candle Dragon around, Suzer and Gao Luofei's safety was no longer a concern for them. A creature that could disappear at any time and conjure up an identical person and scene would be a major headache for anyone. Guowen pondered for a moment, realizing that if you were in this situation, the best approach seemed to be a massive, thorough search. However, Guowen quickly smiled wryly, no longer concerned about the matter. This is a technology invented by Suzette, and Suzette is an advisor to their security department. If anyone should be troubled, it's someone else, not Guowen. You all carry out the mission proposed by virtual number 4. Upon receiving Guowen's order, number 4 and number 6 immediately replied in unison, "Received." Then, number 4 explained the mission details to the others who would be carrying it out together. The other security personnel nodded in agreement upon hearing the mission. Once everything was ready, it was time for the Candle Dragon to display its power. Here we go again. Jennifer saw the security personnel appear once more and, as usual, picked up her pistol and fired at them. After realizing it was fake again, Jennifer lowered her pistol. After hearing no more gunshots, number 4 gave everyone a hand signal. Upon seeing number 4's hand signal, the personnel moved nimbly towards Jennifer's location, moving with extreme care to avoid making any unnecessary noise. This time, they discovered that Jennifer, who usually fired at the mere sight of them peeking out, acted as if she hadn't seen them at all, remaining completely still and ignoring their actions. Scared? Too scared to come any closer, Jennifer, seeing the security personnel approach, initially thought it was another charade and shouted at them, "This little trick, you think you can fool me?" However, as soon as Jennifer finished speaking, she saw the security personnel beside her reveal a strange expression. Seeing this strange expression, Jennifer had a bad feeling. Sure enough, the next moment, Jennifer saw the security personnel in front of her raise a gun to her forehead. The cold barrel touching her forehead sent a chill through her body. Then, a powerful voice rang out, "Don't move. Hands up." Chapter 102 is all thanks to Zhulan. Upon hearing the voice, Jennifer's pupils, visible through her hood, dilated. This voice meant that she, Jennifer, a seasoned agent, had been captured so easily. Under Jennifer's incredulous gaze, the AS pistols in her hands were knocked away by the security personnel. Even though Jennifer was unwilling to accept this fact, she could only reluctantly submit to being restrained on the ground after her hands were handcuffed behind her back. Jennifer, the only American agent with lethal weapons, had been subdued by the security personnel. Dealing with Charlotte would be much simpler. "Don't move. We are from the Sha Kingdom Security Department. You're under arrest." Even as the security personnel apprehended Charlotte, he was still cautiously searching for an exit. Judging from his somewhat tattered and stained clothes, Charlotte had suffered considerable trouble. Especially his eyes, which clearly showed fear, reflecting the many stressful things he had experienced. As Charlotte was pinned to the ground by the agents of the Secret Service, a hint of relief seemed to appear in her eyes. At this point, both Charlotte and Jennifer were arrested. Just then, Guowen arrived at the location in his car. "These two idiots, Guowen? We'll see." Now that the two were captured, and with Guowen present, Black Hand knew that unless the government intervened in negotiated terms, they were beyond saving. Therefore, Black Hand turned away, abandoning the car he had stolen, and disappeared into the crowd, vanishing without a trace. After arriving at the location, under the watchful eyes of the agents, Guowen approached Charlotte and Jennifer. Then, in full view of everyone, he removed the hoods from their heads. Thus, the true faces of these two American agents were revealed to the public. These two, well, their appearances were quite ordinary, even excessively so. They were the kind of ordinary people you wouldn't even glance at in a crowd. However, Guowen knew very well that although their faces were quite ordinary, since they were spies carefully trained and cultivated by the United States, they naturally possessed extraordinary abilities. Especially considering that these two were also subordinates of Black Hand, they were definitely notorious figures and should not be underestimated. "Who are you two?" Guowen asked Charlotte and Jennifer sternly. Hearing Guowen's question, Charlotte, despite being arrested, still replied with great pride, "What do you care who I am? Bah. I'm just unlucky to have fallen into your hands today. Otherwise, how could you have caught me?" However, as soon as Charlotte finished speaking, a voice rang in his ear. The one shouting is codenamed Charlotte, and the other one is codenamed Jennifer. Looking in the direction of the voice, Guowen saw that the speaker was Suzanne, who was being led slowly down from the car by Gao Luofei. As for why Suzanne knew so much, it was naturally thanks to the Candle Dragon system. During their conversation, Candle Dragon transmitted the entire content of their exchange to Suzanne's phone. Because of this, Suzanne was fully aware of their thoughts. "It's Charlotte and Jennifer. Advisor Sue, you've done a great service again." Since it was Suzanne who said it, its authenticity was beyond doubt. However, Guowen immediately felt delighted. Within the security department's system, foreign forces were clearly classified into 5 levels, S, A, B, C, and D, based on the degree of their sabotage and the capabilities of the forces they belonged to. Like Black Hand, whose destructive power is immense and who is extremely difficult to catch, it is classified as S rank, ranking relatively low within the S rank group. As for Charlotte and Jennifer, Black Hand's two henchmen, while not S rank, they are still A rank individuals. After all, these two can be considered Black Hand's right-hand men. They handle tasks that Black Hand is unwilling to do, making them equally difficult to deal with. Because their faces are never clearly visible when they appear, the security department knows nothing about them except for their general, somewhat inaccurate build and height. This is why their bounty can reach up to 1 million. Today, thanks to Suzanne's help, they were able to capture these two troublesome individuals so easily. Suzanne deserves immense credit. However, since it was Charlotte and Jennifer, the culprit must be nearby. Guoan immediately ordered the team from the security department station nearby, search the surrounding area for any traces of the culprit. Hearing Guoan's order, the security department team dispersed and began searching. After giving orders, Guoan approached Suze and said, "Advisor Su, thank you very much this time. The reward for capturing Charlotte and Jennifer is 2 million. I will apply to the organization for the payment once we get back." Hearing Guoan's words, Suze simply smiled. For Suzette, this was just a matter of course, nothing difficult. "Boss, they escaped." Soon, personnel from Security Department 4 reported the current situation to Guoan. Hearing the report from Department 4, Guoan already knew the outcome and wasn't too disappointed. At the same time, an armed helicopter carrying a special forces team appeared before everyone. Chapter 103 Epoch-making technology, changing the mode of war. With the situation resolved, Bingbing and her group naturally got out of the car. When they learned that the crisis had been resolved so easily, and that the virtual objects were entirely due to the power of the candle dragon created by Suzette, they erupted in cheers. 666, awesome, bro. Professor Su's candle dragon is amazing. Someone was saying Professor Su's candle dragon had no practical use, but look at that. The realism is unparalleled, so cool. But judging by this, I don't think the candle dragon will ever be released to the market. I agree, the candle dragon's effects are incredible. Even if it does get released, it'll definitely be a watered-down version. The viewers, separated by a live stream, might not have fully grasped the situation. But Bingbing and her group witnessed the entire event. Even though they now knew that the Maserati Quattroporte they had been following was a virtual image, they still couldn't discern the difference unless they touched it. "Brother Sun, what do you think of the technological value of the candle dragon?" Bingbing asked Sun Li curiously. "It's important to understand that a Hulan that can be used freely is definitely different from one that can only be kept at home. I can't estimate its value, but it's definitely very large." Hearing Bingbing's question, Sun Li's lips curled into a bitter smile. It wasn't that Sun Li couldn't estimate it, but rather that estimating it would be a bottomless pit, and the final value would certainly be enormous. Hearing Sun Li's words, Bingbing understood the deeper meaning behind them. Since Sun Li had said so, Bingbing didn't ask any further questions. However, at this moment, Bingbing looked at Suze with even more admiration. "Old Gao, you're getting old, and you actually have this kind of luck, finding such a son-in-law." After making their respective phone calls and giving instructions, Gao Yuanshan and Director Wang kept a close eye on the situation in the live broadcast room. Naturally, they had a clear understanding of what was happening on the scene. It was precisely because they understood just how excellent this Hulan's functions were that Gao Yuanshan was no longer as excited as before about Director Wang's praise. At this moment, Gao Yuanshan was thinking about the military significance of this technology. If this Hulan was deployed on the battlefield, even a single person could make the enemy believe they were surrounded on all sides. Moreover, the feints and deceptions could disrupt the enemy's thinking. Similarly, Director Wang was also considering the value of this Hulan technology to the security department. This technology was simply revolutionary, an absolute weapon of mass destruction. Then, Gao Yuanshan and Director Wang turned to each other simultaneously, their eyes holding a hint of something unreadable, and spoke at the same time. "Old Wang, Old Gao, we should use this technology first." "Old Wang, Suze is my son-in-law, so of course we should use it first," Gao Yuanshan said. "What son-in-law? Weren't you dissatisfied with this son-in-law before? Besides, Suze is a consultant for the security department, and we were the first to contact him, so of course we should use it first. Suze is also a technical consultant for our military. Who is better than whom?" Gao Yuanshan and Director Wang started arguing about this, neither willing to give in. They didn't seem like two people with a combined age of over 100 and high positions of power at all. "I've already explained the mission details to everyone. We'll be facing elite agents trained by foreign forces, according to Commander Gao's instructions, while ensuring the safety of the surrounding people and property. We should try our best to resolve the matter." On the armed helicopter, seeing that they were almost at their destination, the Special Operations Team leader repeated the instructions. Although Gao Yuanshan valued the safety of his daughter and son-in-law very much, besides being a father, he was also a soldier. He understood his responsibilities, and therefore, he prioritized the safety of the people in the central streets of Hongdu. "Boss, look at the situation down there. There are a lot of people, and things are getting a bit tricky." Looking down at the somewhat chaotic situation from the armed helicopter, The deputy leader of the Special Operations Team said. Located in the central urban area, if those saboteurs acted recklessly, the lives and property of the people would be greatly affected. Moreover, it should be noted that the person this mission was to rescue was a person with extremely high scientific research capabilities. Not only was he a military technical advisor, but he also seemed to be an honorary professor at the Imperial University. Such a tech tycoon would be held responsible if anything went wrong during the mission. Moreover, before they arrived, they had been specifically informed that the other trapped woman was not only Suze's wife, but also their general's daughter. This mission was fraught with difficulties for them. The captain naturally shared the same concerns as the vice captain. However, despite their many worries, well, just as the two were considering how to begin their operation, the Special Forces captain, Wu Hua's communicator vibrated. This communicator was extremely important. Normally, during missions, to avoid unnecessary exposure, no one would contact them through this communicator. Only when the Special Forces team needed assistance would they contact the main force. However, since they had been contacted, it meant it was someone of very high rank, with something very important to instruct them on. And judging from the caller ID, the call originated from Gao Yuanshan. Normally, they would only observe someone of Gao Yuanshan's stature from afar, but today he actually called them personally. Commander Gao, what are your instructions? Wu Hua, the Special Operations Team leader, said righteously after the call connected. Chapter 104. Quickly get on good terms with Suzette. Your original mission is cancelled. Gao Yuanshan's deep voice rang in Wu Hua's ears. Cancelled? Hearing Gao Yuanshan's words, Wu Hua was very puzzled. Before they set off, this was clearly a very urgent and important mission. How could it be cancelled after they arrived at their destination? Gao Yuanshan obviously understood Wu Hua's doubts. In a good mood, Gao Yuanshan said to Wu Hua, the mission target has been captured by the security department. There were no casualties among the target or the nearby civilians. Hearing Gao Yuanshan's words, Wu Hua felt a little disappointed. Why? Such a difficult and urgent mission was completed so easily by the security department. Did this mean that their special operations team's execution ability was inferior to that of the security department? Especially after hearing that the security department's person in charge of this mission was Guoan, this was unacceptable to Wu Hua. Wu Hua was a top special forces soldier, while Guoan was a top-level person within the security department. Although Guoan and Wu Hua had never met, they had both heard of each other's deeds and knew that neither of them were simple people. Now, the two are about to meet again because of the same mission. It's important to know that missions carried out by the Secret Service are generally assassinations, not suitable for operations in public. This mission in Hongdu City is usually their Special Forces team's specialty. Who would have thought that Guoan's team would complete the mission before they even arrived? Not understanding the actual situation, Wu Hua wondered if the Secret Service was also incredibly skilled at urban operations. Since the mission had been completed by the Secret Service, Wu Hua planned to have the armed helicopter return. However, before Wu Hua could give the order, Gao Yuanshan continued, Wu Hua, since you're already on the scene, there's no need to return immediately. The streets in the center of Hongdu City are definitely chaotic after all that. Why don't you go there and help maintain order, using a special forces team, especially an elite unit like the Wolfang Special Forces? To maintain order is like using a cannon to kill a mosquito, a huge waste. Gao Yuanshan naturally understood this was a waste of military resources, but it was intentional on his part. Gao Yuanshan was now extremely satisfied with his son-in-law, Suzette, but he hadn't forgotten how he had treated Suzette before. Although Gao Yuanshan and Director Wang had agreed that today was Suzette and Gao Luofei's wedding anniversary and they wouldn't disturb the young couple, having Wu Hua led the Special Forces team to maintain order during tomorrow's negotiations would also let Suzette know that the team was there to rescue him and Gao Luofei. In short, it was to build goodwill with Suzette. This would make things easier during tomorrow's negotiations. Although Wu Hua didn't understand Gao Yuanshan's intentions, since it was the leader's order, it had to be implemented without fail. After hanging up the phone, Wu Hua looked at his team members, who were ready for battle. Captain, what are Commander Gao's instructions? Is it related to this mission? The deputy captain asked Wu Hua. Hearing the deputy captain's question, Wu Hua replied solemnly, no, our mission has been cancelled. Why? Because the target has already been apprehended by the security department. As soon as Wu Hua finished speaking, the others on the armed helicopter reacted as Wu Hua had expected. all showing surprised expressions. How could the security department be so quick about this kind of mission? They actually snatched it away. We're not happy about that, so we've made a wasted trip. Oh, so it's already over down there. I was wondering why the atmosphere didn't seem so tense earlier. However, we don't need to return now, because Commander Gao just gave us a new mission, to maintain order at the scene. Hearing the team members' complaints, Wu Hua continued. When Wu Hua finished speaking, the team members reacted as Wu Hua had just imagined, extremely surprised. Captain, are you kidding me? We're going to maintain order? This isn't a joke. Maintaining order as a special operations team wasn't unprecedented. However, the occasions where a special operations team could maintain order were always those involving important national figures. Asking them to maintain order in this situation sounded like a pipe dream. Could the captain have misheard? This is Commander Gao's order, all personnel ready to land. The central road was an 8-lane road in both directions, and because of this incident, the scene had been cordoned off by traffic police and other departments who had arrived late. Moreover, since the target had already been apprehended by the security department, there was no need to worry about any accidents upon landing. Therefore, the special operations team did not choose to rappel from the nearest high-rise building, but instead, following Wu Hua's orders, landed directly on the road. The armed helicopter carrying Wu Hua's special operations team was the Z-10, currently the most advanced domestically produced armed helicopter in China. As it slowly descended, it attracted a lot of attention. Although the Z-10 had been in service for many years, seeing it so closely was still a rare opportunity. Look, it's a Z-10 attack helicopter. As expected of the top-of-the-line attack helicopter in the country, it truly combines strength and good looks. The Z-10 is here because of what happened earlier, but since it's all over, why didn't it return to base? Why did it land instead? It's been a long time. Facing the airflow from the Z-10's rotor blades, Suze looked at the helicopter and said softly. Come to think of it, the last time Suze saw the Z-10 was after its first successful test. After the test went smoothly, Suze went to attend to other matters. So much time had passed, and he never expected to meet it again in such a setting. Chapter 105 Suze is important, a meeting between kings. Honey, what are you mothering about? Who haven't you seen in a while? Standing next to Suzette, Gao Luofei overheard his mutterings. She raised her pretty face slightly, looked at Suzette, and asked curiously. Hearing Gao Luofei's question and seeing her bright, curious eyes, Suzette affectionately ruffled her hair and said, Nothing, you still won't tell me? Humph, I'm ignoring you. Hearing Suzette's perfunctory answer, Gao Luofei pouted slightly, quite dissatisfied with his response. However, in the blink of an eye, Gao Luofei was captivated by the scene before her. Although she had grown up in a military compound, she had never actually seen military equipment like the Z-41 attack helicopter, an advanced weapon that had been deployed in the last decade. Now, seeing it so closely, her eyes widened as she made her judgment. So this is the Z-10 attack helicopter? It's pretty cool, but compared to a mech, it's still a bit lacking. In Gao Luofei's mind, the coolest weapon she had ever seen in all this time was Suze's initial mech. It had looks, maneuverability, and a strong sense of security and power, right? Hearing Gao Luofei's mutterings, Suze just smiled and didn't say anything more. After all, Gao Luofei wasn't wrong. How could a mech, something so far ahead of its time, possibly compare to this kind of technology that was in line with modern times? Seeing the Z-10, Guoan also stepped out from the crowd and stood beside Suzette, watching the Z-10 land smoothly on the ground. After the Z-10 landed smoothly, the cockpit door opened, and Suze and the others saw a group of fully armed soldiers, each carrying rifles, sniper rifles, and other weapons, jump off the Z-10. After jumping off, the group lined up neatly and then dispersed to maintain vigilance and order in the vicinity. When the group from the security department and the surrounding military enthusiasts saw the soldiers jumping from the attack helicopters, they immediately noticed the prominent wolf head insignia with sharp, white fangs on their uniforms and helmets. Upon seeing this insignia, they instantly recognized it as belonging to the Wolf Fang Special Forces, one of the nation's most renowned elite special forces units. As a unit that has fought overseas to protect the nation, the Wolf Fang Special Forces enjoys a well-deserved reputation among the people. Therefore, they were recognized immediately. As for the viewers in the live stream, who had been watching the entire event, The appearance of the Wolfang Special Forces caused an explosion of comments in the chat, rapidly scrolling across the screen. I actually saw the Wolfang Special Forces. Am I dreaming? Wolfang Special Forces, looks like what happened here just now had a big impact, even the Wolfang were sent. Isn't this a waste? Why use the Wolfang Special Forces for such a small matter? Yeah, the Wolfang Special Forces shouldn't be used in a place like this. Seeing the strange comments popping up in the live stream, the viewers who knew about Suze's situation couldn't stay calm and directly retorted angrily. What do you mean shouldn't? Do you know how great Professor Su is? Professor Su's Mecha and Zhulan, aren't they all groundbreaking products? Should Wolfang send someone like that? It's no exaggeration to say that Professor Su is a national treasure. I'm so envious of the goddess. She has such great taste. She found such an outstanding husband. They even sent the Wolfang Special Forces when something happened. Professor Su is great in every way, except for his habit of hiding money. Exactly. If the production team had come sooner, Professor Su wouldn't have been called a gigolo for over a year. The goddess and Professor Su are a perfect match, a match made in heaven. The barrage of rebuttals completely drowned out the dissenting voices. It's woohoo! While others could only recognize the Wolfang Special Forces, Guoan immediately recognized woohoo when he saw the captain of the Wolfang Special Forces team. Although the two had never met, Guoan had seen Woohoo's file. Guoan couldn't forget the photo after seeing it once. Woohoo sensed Guoan's gaze and turned to look at him. After a moment, she looked at Suze and Gao Luofei standing beside Guoan. Comparing it to the photo she had seen before leaving, Woohoo realized that the handsome man and beautiful woman were Suze and Gao Luofei. After pausing for a moment, Woohoo headed towards where the three of them were. Hello, Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, I am Woohoo, the captain of the Wolfang Special Forces team. We were originally ordered by Commander Gao to rescue you, however, the target has already been captured by our brothers in the security department, so we couldn't be of much help. We can only maintain order at the scene as ordered, and we hope we won't disturb you. Hearing what Woohoo said, Suze and Gao Luofei understood who Commander Gao was. They said politely, Captain Wu, you're too kind. We should be thanking you for coming to rescue us. Professor Su is indeed a big shot. He can remain so calm in front of the captain of the Wolfang Special Forces team. I saw Suze yesterday and felt that he had an extraordinary aura. Now that I see him, I can confirm it. After exchanging pleasantries, seeing that there was nothing else to do, they let Woohoo talk to Guoan. As for Suze and Gao Luofei, they returned to the car, preparing to set off once the roads were clear. Seeing is believing. After meeting you today, Captain Wu is indeed extraordinary, Guoan said politely to Woohoo. Not at all, team leader Guo is even more impressive. You captured the mission target in such a short time. Even if it were our Wolfang Special Forces team, we wouldn't be able to do it so quickly. Chapter 106's popularity is soaring again. Especially since it was completed without any casualties, that's even more remarkable. If it were me, I wouldn't have any confidence at all, but Captain Guo managed to complete it brilliantly. Captain Guo's operation this time truly earns my utmost admiration. Although Woohoo was competitive, he wasn't petty. His admiration was genuine. As for what came next, he would naturally surpass his opponent with practical actions. This was healthy competition. Hearing Woohoo's words, Guoan smiled wryly. From the meaning behind Woohoo's words, Guoan understood that Woohoo hadn't grasped the true situation. Guoan wasn't the kind of person who liked to take credit for others. Therefore, Guoan smiled and said to Woohoo, Captain Wu, you've misunderstood. How so? Hearing Guoan's words, Woohoo asked in return. The reason this mission was completed so smoothly is largely thanks to Consultant Su's help. Oh? Hearing Guoan's words, Woohoo was quite surprised. He had just interacted with Suzette, but Suze's impression of him, besides being handsome, was that he was extremely scholarly and refined. Although his physique suggested he was a well-trained and muscular man, there's a saying, those who know martial arts definitely have muscles, but those who have muscles don't necessarily know martial arts. Looking at the delicate appearance of Suze's palms, he didn't seem like a martial artist. Moreover, the opponents were Charlotte and Jennifer from the United States. Both were not only highly skilled but also had undergone professional combat training. They could easily handle ordinary special forces soldiers, let alone someone like Suzette. How could Suzette possibly help subdue thugs? Captain Wu, you probably don't know this, but Advisor Su relies not on his physique, but on his brain. Guoan, seeing Wu Hua's thoughts, smiled and pointed to his head. Brain, seeing Guoan's gesture, Wu Hua was utterly confused. What did this have to do with the brain? Seeing that Wu Hua didn't understand, Guoan led him to the Maserati Quattroport and pointed at it, saying, "Captain Wu, do you know what this is? Isn't it just a sports car?" Wu Hua replied, looking at the Maserati Quattroport. "Then touch it." Hearing Guoan's words, Wu Hua was completely bewildered. Forget sports cars, he'd touched airplanes, tanks, cannons, mortars. What hadn't he touched? This Maserati Quattroport was just a sports car. What was there to touch? Although he was very confused, since Guoan had said so, Wu Hua couldn't ignore him. Therefore, under Guoan's gaze, Wu Hua reached out to touch the Maserati Quattroport. Huh? What's going on? Wu Hua then realized that there seemed to be something wrong with the Maserati Quattroport he was touching. What was going on? How could his hand pass right through the Maserati Quattroport? Could it be? Thinking of that possibility, Wu Hua immediately looked at Guoan. Guoan understood the meaning behind Wu Hua's gaze and chuckled, saying, "That's right, this Maserati Quattroport isn't real, it's a projection using the virtual reality device Candle Dragon. Just now, thanks to Candle Dragon, we were able to deceive Charlotte and Jennifer, which allowed us to complete our mission with ease." As he spoke, Guoan stepped forward, his body passing directly through the Maserati Quattroport, revealing only his upper body. Even without Guoan's words, Wu Hua understood the implication. Since Guoan had said that the smooth completion was thanks to Suzette, and now Guoan had solemnly introduced the Candle Dragon, it was clear that the builder of the Candle Dragon was obvious. Who else could it be but Suzette? Having witnessed the deceptively realistic capabilities of Candle Dragon and learned about what had just happened from Guoan, Wu Hua felt deeply apologetic for having underestimated Suzette earlier. Indeed, those who rely on their brains are truly exceptional. Wu Hua then understood Gao Yuanshan's intention behind his earlier words. Clearly, Commander Gao also recognized the military's value and had sent him down to curry favor with the military. At the same time, Wu Hua felt an irrepressible urgency. If he could also access this technology and apply the Candle Dragon technique to the battlefield, their Wolfang Special Forces team's combat effectiveness would undoubtedly rise to a new level. No, when we get back, we must have the leader talk to Commander Gao. If this technology is used within the military, it must be prioritized for use within their Wolfang Special Forces team. With the cooperation of the Wolfang Special Forces team, the security department, and the traffic police, the main street was quickly cleared. After the vehicles ahead drove away, Suzette and Gao Luofei's Maserati Quattroport slowly started moving. However, unlike last time, this time Suzette was driving the Maserati Quattroport, while Gao Luofei sat in the passenger seat. During the drive, Suzette, as usual, activated the Candle Dragon engine. Unbeknownst to those behind, the Maserati Quattroport's seats were switched upon entering the underground parking lot of the Central Plaza. After parking the Maserati Quattroport, Gao Luofei took Suzette's arm and followed him into the mall. However, given their current popularity, and with a camera broadcasting live from behind, they were followed by large crowds wherever they went. Sure enough, once people learned that Suzette and Gao Luofei were there, the Central Plaza quickly filled with people. "Professor Su, I love you, goddess, I love you, don't push, let me get a closer look at my goddess, okay." Chapter 107. There are too many people, let's go back. "Goddess, I know you're here, come out quickly. Professor Su, you're my idol. Suzette, you're the most handsome man in my heart. A scientific genius, thanks to Professor Su. If it weren't for Professor Su, who knows how much would have happened just now. We really have to thank Professor Su, he's a hero of our Hongdu city. I didn't expect that in just one day, Suzette would become so popular." Bingbing looked at the enthusiastic audience in the distance and said with great satisfaction. Hearing Bingbing's words, the viewers in the live broadcast room also expressed their opinions. "All of this is thanks to Professor Su's strength, that's great, but it would be better if Professor Su didn't like to hide his money, haha, that's right, Professor Su needs to change his habit of hiding money. Honey, there are a lot of people, Gao Luofei is a well-known actress in China, and she has experienced this kind of scene before, and even more enthusiastic ones. However, this time, when Gao Luofei looked at the crowd gathered at the entrance, her eyes were no longer cold as she had before, but rather filled with joy. This time, The crowd wasn't there because of her fame or to catch a glimpse of her stunning beauty, but because of Suze standing beside her. While she was delighted by Suze's popularity, she knew they hadn't come to the shopping mall for adoration, but to shop. With so many people, they couldn't continue shopping. "Honey, let's go home." Actually, Gao Luofei was very happy to be shopping with Suzette, as they rarely had time to go out together. Previously, she had worried about revealing Suze's face and causing him unnecessary trouble. But now, thanks to the program, Suze's face had been revealed by chance, so Gao Luofei no longer had such concerns. However, although they were no longer worried, the presence of so many onlookers restricted their movements. Even shopping now, how could they feel at ease? Gao Luofei's hands were slender and long, and because they were well maintained, they felt incredibly soft and supple. Suze often enjoyed holding Gao Luofei's hand. Knowing Gao Luofei's concerns, Suze slightly tightened his grip on her small, slender hand. Then, with a gentle smile, he softly said to Gao Luofei, "Fifei, have you forgotten we have the candle dragon?" As soon as he finished speaking, Suze activated the candle dragon he carried with him. This time, the candle dragon was much smaller than the one in the Maserati Quattroporte, almost the size of a mobile phone. The power of technology was immense, especially Suze's research and development capabilities. With Suze's tireless improvements, the size of the candle dragon had shrunk to about 1% of its original size. However, the Zhuling's function, in terms of quality, that is, its ability to create a lifelike illusion, was not affected in the slightest. Only the area affected by this Zhuling was reduced to a radius of 10 meters. But even 10 meters was sufficient. "Alright, wife," in just over a second, Suze finished. Under the Zhuling's effect, Gao Luofei only saw two people, identical to them, appearing in a corner not far behind them. They wore the same clothes and hats, and their builds and heights were all identical. If one didn't know they were fake, they would truly be indistinguishable from the real thing. To others, Suze and Gao Luofei were simply a handsome and beautiful couple compared to ordinary people. Normally, someone might have given them a second glance. But at this moment, everyone's attention was completely drawn to Suze and Gao Luofei, and no one cared about them. However, since it was a virtual image projected by the Zhuling, if a frenzied crowd rushed forward, they would definitely discover that the two were fake. Therefore, Suze picked up his phone and called Guoan. "Hello, Advisor Su, what can I do for you?" Guoan had also received a message from Director Wang. He was genuinely grateful for Suze's help. Seeing that it was Suze calling, he became even more enthusiastic. "Could you please find a few people, Team Leader Guo, to help maintain order?" Indeed, Suze had Guoan and his team in mind. They were just sitting around doing nothing, so this would put them to good use. Hearing Suze's request, Guoan immediately agreed. "No problem, Advisor Su, we'll be there right away." Although the Black Hand probably wouldn't make a move anytime soon, there was still a risk of something happening to Gao Luofei and Suzette in such a crowded place. However, fearing it might affect their mood, Guoan hadn't offered to protect them. Now that Suzette had offered, Guoan naturally agreed. After sending their locations to Guoan, within 10 seconds, Guoan led 3 members of the security department to the virtual Suzette and Gao Luofei. To avoid revealing their true appearances and causing unnecessary trouble for their families, the 4 of them had undergone a simple disguise, altering their facial features and even their overall demeanor. Once Guoan and his group arrived, Suze arranged for his virtual self and Gao Luofei to appear, drawing the crowd's attention. As Suze had anticipated, the moment the two appeared, everyone rushed over. "Look, Professor Su is here. Professor Su, we love you, Goddess Gao. Professor Su, come here." Chapter 108. Let's go to Hermes then. "Wife, let's go." After seeing that the enthusiastic crowd had been dispersed, Suze pulled Gao Luofei up the stairs and headed towards the shopping center in the central square. However, since the range of the Candle Dragon's influence was only 10 meters in radius, the fake Suze and Gao Luofei couldn't be allowed to stray beyond that range. Therefore, as Suze and Gao Luofei walked away, the fake Suze and Gao Luofei followed behind them under the protection of the security personnel. "Professor Su, what do you think about the fact that you have hidden more than 100 million yuan in private money?" "Professor Su, since you are the owner of Yaoli Glass, why didn't you tell Gao Luofei when you married her?" "Professor Su." The crowd was large and enthusiastic. As soon as the two appeared, They were surrounded, and numerous reporters who had received the news swarmed forward. Fortunately, it was the professionals like Guo protecting them. Otherwise, with such an enthusiastic crowd, it would have been very difficult to get any closer. Because the virtual Suzette and Gao Luofei performed flawlessly, they were extremely poised and polite when facing crowds, responding exactly as they usually did. However, while others didn't notice anything amiss, Bingbing, Gao Luofei's best friend, felt something was off as she watched the fake Suzette and Gao Luofei. She couldn't quite put her finger on it, but something just felt off. Suzette and Gao Luofei were oblivious to Bingbing's reaction. The two were now hand in hand, just like any ordinary couple, strolling freely through the shopping mall without a care in the world. Looking at this and that, they were incredibly happy. "Honey, your invention is amazing. With this, we can be like everyone else, going to the movies, concerts, restaurants, shopping together." Gao Luofei, at this moment, was nothing like a superstar. She was just an ordinary person immersed in love. Seeing Gao Luofei so happy, Suzette was also very pleased. "Okay, let's try all the ones you mentioned in the future." Laughing and talking, the two arrived at the luxury goods section of the central shopping mall. Since they were there, seeing the Hermes logo, Suzette knew Gao Luofei liked Hermes handbags, and she had mentioned that Hermes had recently released a new one. Since Suzette had his Hermes Diamond Black card, it was natural to buy it if Gao Luofei liked it. "Honey, didn't you say Hermes released a new product? Let's go see if they have it." In the past, considering Suzette, Gao Luofei might not have come here to shop. After all, for Suzette, a single bag could easily cost tens or hundreds of thousands of yuan, which was a year's salary. But now, knowing that Suzette had so much savings, Gao Luofei had no more reservations. Hearing Suzette's suggestion, Gao Luofei nodded and followed him towards the Hermes boutique. Hermes, as a world-renowned luxury brand, enjoys a prestigious reputation both domestically and internationally. In the luxury leather goods industry, Hermes is undoubtedly number one. Neither Chanel nor LV can compete with it. While other brands will certainly fulfill customers' requests for the items they want, Hermes is different. Purchasing different Hermes products requires buying certain accessories that meet Hermes' stipulated value. For example, you might want a Hermes Birkin bag, which might only be worth 200,000 or 300,000 yuan. However, to buy that bag, you'll need to spend another 100,000 yuan on Hermes accessories. While this is blatant bundling, Hermes has packaged this practice quite well, claiming it tests customer loyalty. The more money you spend on Hermes accessories, the more loyal you are. And Hermes' favorite customers are precisely these loyal Hermes enthusiasts. "Hello, sir and madam, I'm Marie, a sales representative from Hermes. May I ask your names?" When Suzette and Gao Luofei appeared in front of the Hermes boutique, Marie, the sales representative, greeted them with a polite smile. Someone who could work as a sales representative at a luxury store like Hermes was naturally quite remarkable. With her pretty face, willow leaf eyes, fair skin, and tall figure, she was comparable to any model in a crowd. Besides her excellent looks, her taste was also discerning. Because their appearance was currently a projection, Marie couldn't identify the brand of their clothes. Although she couldn't judge their wealth from their attire, the aura they exuded was undeniable. "My surname is Su, and this lady next to me is my wife, surnamed Gao," Suzette replied upon hearing Marie's question. "Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, welcome to Hermes. Here you can see some of the most beautiful and artistic products in the world. We hope you have a pleasant shopping experience." "Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, is there anything you'd like to see?" Molly asked Suzette and Gao Luofei. Hearing Molly's question, Suzette said, "Take us to your leather goods section." "Yes, Mr. Su, please follow me," Molly explained as she led Suzette and Gao Luofei towards the boutique. Before they knew it, under Molly's guidance, Suzette and Gao Luofei arrived at the Hermes leather goods section. Through the transparent glass windows, they could see a dazzling array of colorful and stylish handbags, suitcases, backpacks, and other leather products on display. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109. Suzette and Gao Luofei are abandoned by Molly. We at Hermes have three classic styles, Kelly, Birkin, and Constance. Here, You can find almost all the products on the market. Mary continued her introduction. For Suzette, these various Hermes leather goods on display were just something he was casually looking at since Gao Luofei liked them. Next to the products on the shelves were signs indicating they were for pre-order and for display only. Price tags were also posted next to the tags. Whether the price was 5, 6, or even 7 digits, Suzette didn't react at all. Meanwhile, just as Suzette and Gao Luofei arrived at the Hermes leather goods counter, the virtual Suzette and Gao Luofei, surrounded by a throng of people, also arrived not far from the entrance of the Hermes boutique. From afar, the sounds of men and women talking, shouting, and the clatter of shoes on the ground could be heard outside the Hermes boutique. The Hermes boutique's entrance was indeed large, but the crowd was also quite large, completely blocking the entrance. If it weren't for the timely arrival of a 12-person security team from the central square to help maintain order, it would have been difficult to control the ever-growing crowd. What's all this commotion outside? It's so noisy. The commotion reached inside the Hermes boutique, where sales staff whispered among themselves. You don't know? I heard Gao Luofei and her husband are here. Gao Luofei, that big star, no wonder she's a big star, she's got a huge following. These words also reached the ears of Molly, who was in the handbag section. Hearing this news, Molly's eyes lit up. Molly knew her colleagues well. They usually only talked about cosmetics and jewelry and didn't care much about anything else. They might not know about Gao Luofei and Suzette, but Molly did, especially this morning when Suzette's identity as the owner of Yaoli Glass Group was exposed. Molly was watching the live broadcast. Since Suzette and Gao Luofei are here, they certainly won't be here for nothing. They'll definitely spend some money. With Suzette's billions in assets, even if he only spends a little on goods here, he can still get a hefty commission. This couple she's currently entertaining, even if they buy something, probably won't buy much, so she won't get much of a commission. It's better to serve Suzette and Gao Luofei. Suzette, how about we go to the Hermes store? Guoan suggested to the virtual Suzette he was protecting, looking at the Hermes boutique so close by. Hearing Guoan's suggestion, the virtual Suzette nodded. With Suzette's confirmation, Guoan began arranging for the security personnel and the Secret Service staff to create a human wall leading to the Hermes boutique. The group followed the human wall towards the Hermes boutique. Hello, Goddess Bingbing. Bingbing, you're even more beautiful than before. Bingbing and her entourage, given their special status and the fact that they were live streaming, were protected by security. Seeing Suzette and Guoan heading towards the Hermes boutique, she followed closely behind. She responded with smiles to the greetings from the crowd. As for the viewers in the live stream, many were visiting the Hermes boutique for the first time. Is this a luxury boutique? The decor is so grand, even better than my house, Hermes. A single bag costs tens of thousands. I can't afford it. I don't even dare to go in when I pass by, afraid of breaking it and not being able to afford the compensation. I can only admire it from afar. That's true. Professor Su and Goddess Gao are such people. Since they're here, they'll definitely spend some money. Honey, this is it. Gao Luofei looked around the shelves and quickly found the new Hermes handbag she had her eye on. Pointing to the handbag on the shelf, Gao Luofei said to Suzette. Fortunately, there was no sign next to the new Hermes handbag that Gao Luofei had her eye on indicating it was reserved or in stock. In other words, Gao Luofei could just take it today. Seeing that Gao Luofei had found the product she wanted, Suzette turned to Molly, preparing to have her wrap it up. But when Suzette turned around, he found that Molly had already slipped away silently without saying a word, going to the door to greet Suzette and Gao Luofei. Molly was now pushing aside the other sales staff, smiling broadly at Suzette and Gao Luofei. Suzette knew perfectly well what Molly was thinking. Faced with this situation, Gao Luofei could only raise an eyebrow helplessly. Honey, it seems we're not as important as ourselves in the salesperson's eyes. This was the first time Gao Luofei had encountered something like this, but she wasn't naive and naturally understood what Molly was thinking, teasing her indifferently. Sir, madam, if it's convenient, let me introduce you. I'm a new salesperson. My name is Song Wei. Suddenly, a clear, melodious female voice reached Suzette's ears. The girl who spoke was petite, with a face that perfectly matched the image of a girl next door. Song Wei's expression was tense. She was quite nervous facing her first customer on her first day of work. Anyway, Gao Luofei had already found the product she wanted. Seeing Song Wei's words, Gao Luofei nodded and said, My surname is Gao. I want this product. Could you tell us about it, Ms. Gao? This is our latest Hermes Birkin bag launched this year. Songwei had also seen the product Gao Luofei mentioned. After thinking for a moment, she began her explanation. Chapter 110. I want this bag, no one can take it from me. At first, Songwei was a little awkward, but the more she spoke, the more skilled she became. With a smile on her face, Songwei meticulously explained the product to Gao Luofei. This Birkin bag suits your style perfectly, Ms. Gao. Would you like to try it on? No, thank you, Gao Luofei replied with a smile. Wife, is this the one you want? Suze said, and seeing Gao Luofei nod slightly, he turned to Songwei and said, we'll take this bag. Hearing Suze's words, Songwei was secretly delighted. She knew that the Birkin bag Gao Luofei had her eye on cost a whopping 288,888 yuan. Adding the necessary accessories, Songwei could earn a substantial commission. She had only started work today, and this was only her first order. She hadn't expected it to be so successful. Thinking of this, Songwei's smile became even sweeter, and her excitement soared. Following the training, Songwei addressed Suze and Gao Luofei, saying, Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, you must also be loyal customers of Hermes. This Birkin bag is a new product this year, so the prerequisite for purchasing it is a bit high in terms of accessories. Price is not a problem. Hearing Suze's generous reply, Songwei agreed and took out a pre-order tag from a nearby box, intending to place it next to the Birkin bag. Once placed next to the Birkin bag, it would essentially belong to Gao Luofei. Unless Gao Luofei ultimately decided against it, no one else could buy it even if they wanted it. I want this bag. Just as Songwei was about to place the tag next to the Birkin bag, a somewhat grating voice, giving off a deliberately weak impression, rang out. The voice was like the currently popular cliched voice. Suze, while not discriminating, didn't appreciate it either. Upon hearing the contents of the voice, Suze's brow furrowed slightly before relaxing. He heard Songwei politely say, Madam, I'm sorry, this Birkin bag has already been pre-ordered by Ms. Go next to me. If you like it, you can choose another one. Songwei spoke kindly to the woman who spoke, and at this moment, Suze also saw the speaker's appearance. The woman, in terms of appearance alone, was comparable to Songwei, with a high nose, large eyes, and a fair complexion. However, compared to Songwei's light makeup, this woman wore heavy makeup and dressed more maturely, flamboyantly, and a strong perfume wafted from her. Beside this woman stood a portly, seemingly healthy middle-aged man, around 40 years old. The woman frowned slightly upon hearing Songwei's words, clearly displeased. I've never seen you before. Are you new here? Go, call your store manager. Judging from the woman's tone and words, it was clear she wasn't a first-timer at this Hermes boutique. Madam, you can call the manager, but I'm not mistaken. According to Hermes rules, this Birkin bag was pre-ordered. Songwei was certain she was correct, having been taught during her training. Although she had seemed timid earlier, she now stood firm after hearing the woman's words. Dad, look at her. Hearing Songwei's words, the woman said to the middle-aged man standing beside her in a coquettish tone. He had always doted on his daughter. Upon hearing his daughter's words, the middle-aged man shouted at Songwei, go and call your store manager over. Just as Songwei was about to say something, other Hermes sales staff, having witnessed the situation, rushed over and said to the middle-aged man, Ma, please don't be angry. We're really sorry. My colleague just joined the company. Please forgive her for her lack of manners. Ma, please calm down with your daughter. I've already notified our store manager. She'll be here soon. After comforting Ma Ji, the saleswoman named Xiao Shu said to Songwei, Xiao Song, quickly apologize to Mr. Ma and his daughter. Mr. Ma is a major client of our store. If you offend him, be careful, the store manager might come and cause you trouble later. Actually, Xiao Shu knew what had happened, but compared to Songwei, Ma Ji held a higher position in her heart. After all, colleagues are inherently competitors. Songwei's misfortune might not necessarily benefit Xiao Shu, but it wouldn't be detrimental either. Hearing Xiao Shu's words, Songwei retorted, Sister Xiao, Mr. Su and Ms. Go have already taken a liking to and pre-ordered this year's latest Birkin bag. Mr. Ma and his family are late, but I haven't done anything wrong. Why should I apologize? Although Xiao Shu was her senior, Songwei hadn't done anything wrong. Everyone was working for money, So why should she apologize to Mr. Ma for no reason? Besides, if she lost this order because of Mr. Ma, who would she ask for the commission she was supposed to receive? Hearing Song Wei actually confront her in public, Xiao Shu felt embarrassed. However, Xiao Shu knew she was in the wrong, so she didn't intend to get involved with Song Wei. She casually said, "I kindly helped you solve your problem, and this is how you treat me? Fine, I won't interfere anymore. You've offended a big client, you'll be fired soon. Dad, I want that bag. It's this year's new model." At the same time, Ma Ji's daughter, Ma Jin, shook Ma Ji's arm and said. Ma Ji could tell she was just a hothead, getting angry with her would be self-destructive. Ma Ji ignored Song Wei. Once the store manager arrived, everything would be resolved. Chapter 111. The child must be well educated after birth. Do you still have this Birkin bag? Ma Ji asked Xiao Shu. Hearing Ma Ji's question, Xiao Shu clasped her hands and replied, "Mr. Ma, I'm really sorry, this bag is a new product this year, and there's only one left at the moment. However, another one will arrive in half a month. Dad, I don't care. I have to go to school in half a month, and I won't have time. I told my classmates I had the latest Birkin bag this year. You can't let me break my promise in front of them." A few days ago, after the Hermes new product launch this year, Ma Jin was chatting with her college roommates. Seeing them discussing the new Hermes models, she boasted that her dad had already bought one for her. Her roommates didn't believe her and insisted that Ma Jin show it to them. Ma Jin didn't have one, so she claimed she had already bought it, but it hadn't arrived yet. It was just a pre-order, and she said she would show it to them when it arrived. So, after receiving news that the new Hermes Birkin bag had arrived today, Ma Ji brought Ma Jin along at her request. For Ma Ji, he was capable of making money, and Ma Jin was his only daughter, so naturally he wanted to pamper her like a princess. Since Ma Jin wanted it, he would buy it for her. "Kian, don't worry, even if I can't get the bag today, I'll definitely get it for you before school starts." "No, it has to be today." Okay, I know. Today it is," Ma Ji said to Ma Jin. From Ma Jin's words and actions, Suzette and Gao Luofei could clearly sense that Ma Jin was absolutely spoiled by Ma Ji. "Wife, if we have a daughter in the future, we must educate her properly. We can't let her turn out like this," Suzette said very solemnly to his wife, Gao Luofei. Hearing what Suzette said, Gao Luofei agreed with his suggestion. Yes, if their daughter was like that, it would really be a headache. However, Gao Luofei's pretty face immediately flushed red, and she scolded Suzette. "What, if I give you a son, you won't be happy?" Looking at Gao Luofei's adorable appearance, Suzette said, "Happy, of course I'm happy. I'll love any child you give birth to," Suzette coaxed Gao Luofei. Hearing Suzette's words, Gao Luofei nodded in satisfaction. Standing beside the two, Song Wei felt a row of question marks appear on her forehead. "Are you kidding me? Are you two still talking about love in this situation?" She felt her stomach was full of dog food. She was stuffed. "Song Wei, take us to choose some accessories," Suzette said calmly to Song Wei. Hearing Suzette's words, Song Wei felt she had done the right thing. Why waste time with Ma Ji and Ma Jin? Therefore, Song Wei nodded and walked ahead, intending to lead Suzette and Gao Luofei to the accessories section to choose accessories with sufficient funds. After calming Ma Jin down, Ma Ji approached Suzette and Gao Luofei, the main characters in the story. He first scanned them, analyzing their attire to deduce their background. They seemed to come from an ordinary wealthy family. Their watches, for example, were only worth around 10,000 yuan. As for their wealth, he estimated it to be around 10 million. Ma Ji remained silent, but Ma Jin acted differently. Seeing Suzette and Gao Luofei about to leave with Song Wei, Ma Jin immediately blocked their way, saying arrogantly, "You're not allowed to leave. I've got my eye on this bag. Take your girlfriend and choose something else." Hearing his daughter's words, Ma Ji felt his daughter was being slightly domineering, but he didn't show any embarrassment. Or rather, while he knew his daughter's words were somewhat impolite, he figured Suzette and Gao Luofei weren't important figures, and he wasn't afraid of offending them. On the contrary, he was quite satisfied with his daughter's performance. With such a domineering daughter, she certainly wouldn't be bullied in the future. This Birkin bag was his wife's favorite, and given the order of arrival, Suzette certainly wouldn't do as Ma Jin said just because she said so. Besides, Suzette hated being ordered around in such an arrogant tone, It disgusted him. However, Suzanne knew he couldn't reason with such a woman, so he chose to ignore her and continued walking forward with Gao Luofei. As for Gao Luofei, as a young lady from the capital, it was already considered good enough that she didn't boss others around. How dare Ma Jin be so presumptuous? If Ma Jin had spoken to her politely, Gao Luofei might have considered giving her the Birkin bag, especially since a similar style would arrive in half a month. But Ma Jin's attitude disgusted Gao Luofei, so she wouldn't hesitate to retaliate. Seeing that Suzette and Gao Luofei ignored her after she finished speaking, Ma Jin sarcastically retorted, "Do you know who my father is? You've offended me, and he'll definitely make things difficult for you in the future." Hearing Ma Jin's threatening words, Suzette stopped and turned to Ma Ji, speaking in a cold, serious tone, "Mr. Ma, aren't you going to consider stopping your daughter's impolite behavior?" Suzette's words were particularly grating to Ma Ji's ears. Wherever Ma Ji went, he was always the most popular person. Everyone wanted to be on good terms with him, hoping to gain some favor. Ma Ji had initially thought his daughter's words were a bit excessive, but after hearing Suzette's words, he decided not to stop her and chose to ignore him. Just then, Xiaoshu's voice rang out, "Our store manager is here." Chapter 112. The companies my dad collaborates with are all large enterprises like Aeoli Glass. However, as soon as Xiaoshu finished speaking, she noticed that her store manager wasn't coming in her direction, but had gone to the other side, to the group of people surrounded by security guards. "Xiaoshu, where's your store manager going? Is there some kind of event over there?" When Ma Ji and Ma Jin arrived at the Hermes store earlier, Ma Ji had noticed the large crowd, but he hadn't paid much attention, assuming it was some kind of event. Now, seeing the store manager there, Ma Ji asked Xiaoshu curiously. Hearing Ma Ji's question, Xiaoshu vaguely replied, "I'm not really sure, but it seems like the big star Gao Luofei and her husband are here." Hearing Xiaoshu's words, Ma Jin, who was still angry, suddenly widened her eyes, an incredulous look appearing in them. "What? You mean the big star Gao Luofei?" Hearing Ma Jin's question, Xiaoshu thought carefully about the name she had just heard and replied, "Yes, daughter, what's wrong? You know her, Dad, didn't you keep mentioning Aeoli Glass Group before? You said our company was going to sign a big contract with them." Hearing his daughter's question, Ma Ji said, "Yes, what's wrong, Dad? Do you know, the boss of the Aeoli Glass Group you mentioned is Gao Luofei's husband, Suzette." Ma Ji's company manufactures low-end products related to the glass industry. These products have little technological content, low barriers to entry, many manufacturers, and low profits, so they need to focus on high volume and low margins. Their products happen to meet Aeoli Glass Group's requirements. If Ma Ji's company could cooperate with Aeoli Glass Group, then the pressure on Ma Ji in the next few years would be much lighter, and he could also obtain stable and very substantial profits. Ma Ji attaches great importance to this cooperation and wants to reach an agreement with Aeoli Glass Group. Through various channels, Ma Ji also used his connections, hoping to get closer to Songzhou at Aeoli Glass Group, ideally by making a private arrangement. However, Songzhou was very busy, and Ma Ji didn't have the power to arrange a meeting. This matter had been causing Ma Ji a headache for the past few days. Now, hearing from his daughter that the owner of Aeoli Glass Group was actually a name he'd never heard of, Suzette, Ma Ji asked her curiously, "I've never heard of this Suzette. How did he become the owner of Aeoli Glass Group?" Hearing Ma Ji's question, Ma Jin replied, "It was just announced this morning, Dad. Trust me, it's definitely true." As she spoke, Ma Jin took out her phone and found the news online. Holding his daughter's phone, Ma Ji carefully read the news. After confirming that what his daughter said was true, Ma Ji immediately became excited. It turned out that Songzhou wasn't the owner of Aeoli Glass Group. The real boss behind Aeoli Glass Group was actually a man named Suzette. This was fate. He never expected that going out to buy a bag for his daughter would lead to meeting the real boss of Aeoli Glass Group. If he could chat with him for a while and close the deal, that would be fantastic. Thinking this, Ma Ji said to his daughter, "Ma Jin, Kyankian, you're my lucky star. Thanks to you today, otherwise, I wouldn't have had such good luck to meet the boss of Aeoli Glass Group. My negotiation skills are so good, if I met Suzette, I could definitely close the deal. Kyankian, just tell me what you want today, and I'll buy it for you." Ma Ji said generously and magnanimously. Hearing her father's words, Ma Jin's face lit up with joy. Without hesitation, She asked her father, "Dad, I want to buy a car." Majin had mentioned cars to Maji many times before. Since Majin wanted to buy one, it certainly wasn't an ordinary sedan, but a sports car, a Maserati Quattroporte worth around 2 million. Previously, Maji had always thought that Majin, still a student, would be in danger driving such an expensive sports car, so he hadn't agreed. Today, however, Maji was in a good mood, and after hearing his daughter's request, he only considered it briefly before nodding in agreement. Maji was confident in his negotiating skills. Given the opportunity, he was certain he could close the deal with Suzette. If the deal went through, he could buy hundreds of Maserati Quattroportes, so he didn't think too much about it. Seeing Maji agree, Majin excitedly gave him a hug. After letting go, she immediately took out her phone and said to the WeChat group, "Sisters, I have great news. My dad agreed to buy me a Maserati Quattroporte. See? The companies my dad works with are huge corporations like Aoli Glass Group, worth billions. You little shrimps can't even imagine." Majin proudly raised her head like a victorious rooster to Suzette and Gao Luofei. However, compared to the delighted Maji and Majin, Gao Luofei's expression towards the two was somewhat strange. She wanted to laugh but felt embarrassed by the occasion, and was holding it in with some discomfort. Gao Luofei found it a little funny. Maji was so confident, but if he knew that the person she had just offended was Suzette, she wondered what his expression would be. Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, welcome to our store. I am Molly, your saleswoman. Please feel free to contact me with any needs you may have. While all the other saleswomen were watching the commotion, Molly, before anyone could react, darted into the crowd and greeted Suzette and Gao Luofei very warmly, even through the security personnel. Chapter 113 Bing Bing discovers the flaw. Molly stole it again. That woman's like a ghost, always haunting us. Wasn't Molly supposed to be attending to other customers? Why is she here? Yeah, I heard that young couple already had a product they liked, and Molly didn't even care about her sales target. Don't you know Molly? She must have abandoned that customer. That shouldn't be the case. Those young couple were not only quite handsome, but judging from their clothes, they should have some money. Would Molly really look down on such high-quality customers? Molly has been a top salesperson for so long, her monthly bonus is higher than our salaries plus bonuses. How could someone like her misjudge a customer? That's Gao Luofei. A national goddess, a big star. How could she possibly shop here? Gao Luofei is a big star. This time, Molly stole it again, and her sales target is gone again. Although the Hermes sales staff didn't recognize Suzette, they certainly saw Gao Luofei. With Gao Luofei's fame, it was sure to be another lucrative sale. Seeing that their prime customer had been snatched away by Molly again, their tone and expression were a mixture of envy, jealousy, and helplessness. There was nothing they could do. Their eyesight and decisiveness simply weren't as sharp as Molly's. Once Suzette and Gao Luofei entered the Hermes boutique, the remaining onlookers who had surrounded them could only stand outside. For Suzette and Gao Luofei, their main purpose in entering the Hermes boutique was simply to be closer to Suzette and Gao Luofei, so that their candle dragon function wouldn't fail. Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, is there anything you'd like to buy? Suzette and Gao Luofei were just browsing in the Hermes boutique. They had no intention of making any purchases. To conceal their true purpose, they didn't refuse the saleswoman Molly's request. However, after hearing Molly's question, they didn't directly specify which items they wanted. After all, doing so would make it difficult to stall for time. Therefore, Suzette said to Molly, "Let's take a look around." Hearing this, Molly politely replied, "Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, this way please." Led by Molly, Suzette and Gao Luofei, protected by the crowd, headed towards other display areas. Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, these are Hermes' main new designs this year. Suzette and Gao Luofei merely listened to Molly's explanation, nodding to indicate they were paying attention. However, while Molly spoke, she constantly observed the changes in expression on Suzette and Gao Luofei's faces. She wanted to see which items they were interested in so she could tailor her explanation accordingly, avoiding aimless explanations of every Hermes product. Hermes offers a wide variety of products, from daily necessities to clothing, jewelry, and leather goods. Introducing everything would take a whole day. However, Molly was destined to be disappointed. For Suzette and Gao Luofei, they had no intention of buying anything. Regardless of the product, Their expressions remained largely unchanged as Molly explained it, merely nodding. However, Molly interpreted their expressions differently. She knew that a billionaire like Suzette wouldn't be dissatisfied with a product because of its price. Clearly, Suzette and Gao Luofei simply weren't interested in the items she was introducing. Typical of top-tier tycoons, their taste was indeed discerning. Molly could only console herself with this thought. Contemplating the hefty reward she would receive if Suzette and Gao Luofei made a purchase. Although her throat felt parched and she wanted water, she continued her professional explanation for the sake of the generous bonus. However, this time, her explanations weren't as smooth as before. Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, this lipstick is our flagship product this year, featuring over 200 colors. Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, this is a necklace designed by Mr. Willy Wonka, the chief jewelry designer for Hermes. It weighs approximately 2 kilograms and is made of diamonds, jade, and sapphires. Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, this is a bracelet designed by Mr. Willy Wonka, the chief jewelry designer for Hermes. Wow, a lipstick costs over 9,000, a bracelet costs 56,000, and a necklace costs over $1 million. Is this the life of the rich? This store must be worth hundreds of millions. Why rob a bank? They might as well rob a luxury store. Compared to the nonchalant demeanor of Suzette and Gao Luofei, the viewers in the live stream listened to Molly's explanation with great interest, marveling at the prices of these products. Molly felt her throat was dry and uncomfortable, starting to burn and sting. Even taking a deep breath caused some discomfort. When Molly saw that Suzette and Gao Luofei still didn't show any interest in a particular bracelet, she prepared to head to the last leather goods section. However, unlike Molly's reaction, Bingbing's face gradually revealed a knowing smile. I knew something was off about Suzette and Fifei, now I know why. Bingbing remembered Gao Luofei telling her that she really liked the 560,000 yuan bracelet Molly had just introduced, and that she would definitely buy it if she saw it in person. But now, after hearing Molly's explanation, Bingbing noticed that Gao Luofei was very indifferent to the bracelet, completely different from before. It was precisely because of this subtle difference that only she knew that Bingbing realized something was amiss between Suzette and Fifei. Chapter 114. Suzette is really arrogant, he won't even shake hands. At this moment, Bingbing completely understood. No wonder Suzette and Gao Luofei were being so closely protected by the Secret Service, as if they were afraid of being discovered, and no one was allowed to contact them. It was all because Suzette and Gao Luofei weren't real, but rather illusions created by Zhulan. However, in Bingbing's heart, she assumed Guoan knew about this. Little did she know, Guoan was completely unaware. Besides Suzette and Gao Luofei, only she herself had figured it out. After figuring it out, Bingbing didn't tell anyone else. She understood that Suzette and Gao Luofei were doing this to get rid of the trouble they were currently facing. If she told others, it would disrupt the couple's precious day. Bingbing would never do such a terrible thing. Therefore, Bingbing kept this matter to herself. However, she muttered to herself, "You, Fifei, didn't even tell me about this. You should be happy to have a friend like me. You'd better make it up to me when we get back today." As she muttered, Bingbing was also thinking. Based on her understanding of Candle Dragon and some scientific knowledge, if the virtual image of Candle Dragon could present such an appearance, then it meant that the size of this Candle Dragon should be very small, most likely the kind that could be carried around. However, with a smaller size, the range that Candle Dragon could influence would certainly be correspondingly reduced, and it couldn't be far away. If this was the case, then the real Suzette and Gao Luofei must be nearby, most likely in this Hermes boutique. However, this was not necessarily true. If the Candle Dragon was with Guoan, then Suzette and Gao Luofei would not have any distance restrictions and might not necessarily be here. Considering these two possibilities, Bingbing didn't know which one to lean towards. However, she began to look around at the group of people. If Suzette and Gao Luofei were here, they would definitely give themselves away. Bingbing looked left and right, spotting several people who resembled them, but after careful examination, she dismissed her initial thought and continued searching. The manager is here. Hearing this voice, Molly felt a glimmer of hope. The manager was here, she could finally breathe a sigh of relief. However, when Molly saw her manager, she found that the usually arrogant manager was now standing respectfully and humbly behind a woman dressed in business attire, pointed high heels, and with slightly curled, light red hair. While the woman's appearance wasn't particularly outstanding, Just average, she exuded a very composed, mature, and intellectual aura. The woman walked steadily to Suzette and Gao Luofei and spoke to them. Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, hello. I am Zhou Zinai, President of Hermes China region. It is a great honor for you to grace our company with your presence today. Hearing the woman's words, Molly realized who she was. She hadn't expected her to be the president of Hermes China region. She rarely had the chance to meet someone of this level, yet she had seen her today. However, Molly quickly understood why President Zhou Zinai was here. It was undoubtedly because of that diamond black card. After all, Suzette possessed a Hermes diamond black card, and those who owned such cards were Hermes' most distinguished clients. For the president to come wasn't entirely unexpected. Although Suzette had attributed the two Hermes and Louis Vuitton diamond black cards to Songzhou during yesterday's livestream, as the issuing entity, Zhou Zinai naturally had the right to know the true owner of the diamond black card. She knew in her heart that the black card belonged to Suzette. So, after receiving news that Suzette and his wife had arrived at the Hermes boutique in the central square of Zhongdu City, Zhou Zinai, who happened to be in Zhongdu City that day, immediately rushed over. Hello, President Zhou. Suzette and Gao Luofei greeted Zhou Zinai amicably. However, neither of them reached out to shake Zhou Zinai's outstretched hand. It wasn't that they were being arrogant, it was just that if they shook hands, wouldn't their fake identities as Suzette and Gao Luofei be exposed? Seeing that Suzette and Gao Luofei showed no intention of shaking hands, Zhou Zinai's hand awkwardly hung in midair. However, being a CEO after all, Zhou Zinai quickly composed herself, as if she hadn't been the one feeling awkward just now. Professor Su has quite the influence, even the CEO can get involved, that's normal. Don't forget, Professor Su has a Hermes diamond black card. With a diamond black card, this is perfectly normal, right? Normal? Wasn't the diamond black card supposed to belong to Songzhou? What does Songzhou have to do with Suzette? Are you stupid? Today, the matter of Suzette being the boss of Yaoli Glass Group was exposed. Don't you know whose diamond black card it really is? That black card, damn it, belongs to Suzette. We were all fooled by Suzette and Songzhou yesterday. Oh, I see. Professor Su has gone too far, but I think Professor Su seems a bit arrogant. Look, when Zhou Zinai shook hands with Professor Su and Goddess Gao, neither of them extended their hands, arrogant. These past 2 days, who are Suzette and Gao Luofei? You can ignore what others say, but do you not believe what you see yourself? They're just here to participate in our program, what kind of arrogance could they have? Chapter 115 Platinum bags are only available to VIPs. It's not that Professor Su is arrogant, maybe Professor Su and Goddess Gao have some ideas. Anyone who watched the live stream wouldn't believe the claim that Suzette and Gao Luofei were arrogant. If they were truly arrogant, then were the entire 2 days live stream content an act by Suzette and Gao Luofei? Regardless of their acting skills, if it was truly a performance, they'd rather believe it was real. Led by Zhou Zinai, Suzette and Gao Luofei headed towards the leather goods section. As for Molly, she went to the side to drink water. Regarding the bonus, Molly knew that with her performance, even if she didn't ultimately close the deal, she would still receive a portion of the bonus. That way, it wouldn't be in vain that she almost ruined her voice. Surrounded by the crowd, the group headed towards the leather goods section. Hearing that something had happened in the leather bag section, the store manager went there. On their way to the handbag section, they saw Suzette and Gao Luofei, disguised, walking towards each other under Song Wei's guidance. Suzette and Gao Luofei were holding hands, appearing quite harmonious. The only discordant element was Ma Jin's incessant chatter beside them, clearly indicating an argument. The Hermes store manager's face immediately darkened upon seeing this. If the CEO saw this customer conflict unresolved, she would be the one facing punishment. Therefore, seeing Xiao Shu and Song Wei present without intervening, the Hermes store manager immediately approached them and whispered something to them. Didn't you see the president arrived? Don't you know how to resolve this? Song Wei, you're a new employee, don't you even have this much sense? Xiao Shu, you're a senior employee. Mr. Ma is a major client of ours, you should know what's important. How can we let others clash with Mr. Ma and his daughter? Hearing the manager's words, Song Wei immediately retorted, Manager, the thing is, just as Song Wei was about to explain to the manager also saw Ma Ji. Facing Song Wei's explanation, the manager showed no interest in listening, and said with a smile to Ma Ji and Ma Jin, Ma, I'm sorry, I've been a bit busy today. Please forgive any rudeness. Xiaoshu, what exactly happened? After exchanging polite smiles with Ma Ji and Ma Jin, the manager asked Xiaoshu what had happened. Hearing the manager's question, Xiaoshu naturally selectively told him what was favorable to her. Manager, the point of contention is this Birkin bag. Songwei was quite indignant about the manager's attitude. Seeing that Xiaoshu hadn't fully explained the situation, Songwei ignored whether the manager had called on her and spoke directly to the manager. Manager, I have a few words to say. It's not like that. Xiaoshu is wrong. Mr. Su and Ms. Gao were the ones who came here first, and they were the ones who chose and ordered the Birkin bag. Mr. Su and Ms. Gao were already preparing to come with me to buy the accessories. Although she was very dissatisfied with Songwei's behavior, the manager understood the situation after hearing what Songwei said. When she heard Songwei say that the two people also shared the surname Su and Gao, the manager even looked up. She thought to herself, I didn't expect this young couple to share the same surname as Souza and his wife. Manager, according to Hermes policy, this Birkin bag should belong to Mr. Su and Ms. Gao, Songwei continued. Although the manager knew that Songwei's words meant it was true, and Hermes always followed his policy, the store manager also understood that compared to this young couple whom she was seeing for the first time, Ma Ji was a regular customer, having spent several million yuan on Hermes over the past year. If Ma Ji were embarrassed because of this incident, they might lose this major client. While she felt bad for Suzette and Gao Luofei, the store manager actually favored Suzette and Gao Luofei. However, she also knew that President Zhou Zinai was present. If she openly favored Ma Ji and his daughter, she would be in the wrong and look bad if Suzette and Gao Luofei got into a fight. Moreover, the store manager knew that the crew of Bingbing's show were broadcasting live in the store, attracting tens of millions of viewers. If this got out, she would face significant responsibility. Therefore, the store manager knew she couldn't let Ma Ji and his daughter take the Birkin bag today. How could she appease Suzette and Gao Luofei without causing them dissatisfaction? Hearing the footsteps behind them getting closer, the store manager began to think anxiously. Soon, a good idea came to him. Thinking of this, the store manager secretly praised himself as a genius. Since the Hermes store manager had arrived, Suzette and Gao Luofei stopped, wanting to see how the Hermes store manager would handle the situation. However, Suzette and Gao Luofei didn't really have high hopes for the outcome. After all, judging from the store manager's attitude towards Songwei, it was clear he was biased towards Ma Ji and his daughter. The store manager approached Suzette and Gao Luofei, his expression still very polite, leaving no room for criticism, and said to them, Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, I'm sorry, you cannot purchase the Birkin bag you've been looking at right now. Of course, please don't misunderstand. This Birkin bag is a new product this year, currently only available to our VIP customers and above. I'm truly sorry, this was our mistake, I hope you can understand. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 Him? It can't be a diamond black card. To express our apologies, we will prepare a small gift from Hermes for you both later. We hope you won't find it offensive. Hearing the store manager's words, Ma Jin naturally understood the meaning behind them. VIPs, weren't they the kind of high-quality customers they were? Thinking this, a smug look appeared on Ma Jin's face. See? In the end, the Birkin bag still ended up in her hands. As for Ma Ji, after hearing the store manager's words, he also showed a relaxed expression. Member? Ma Ji, possessed Hermes's highest level membership card, which perfectly matched the membership the store manager was referring to. After the store manager finished speaking, he thought Suzette and Gao Luofei would wisely choose to take the small gift and leave. However, unexpectedly, Gao Luofei, who hadn't spoken for a while, asked the store manager, what exactly do you mean by VIP? And how can you be sure we aren't VIPs? When she said this, Gao Luofei's face was expressionless, revealing nothing of her inner thoughts. However, Gao Luofei's powerful aura, emanating from within, put considerable pressure on the store manager. Gao Luofei's confidence stemmed not only from her own refinement, Suze's wealth and the diamond black card she possessed, but also from her own capabilities. It's worth noting that before temporarily retiring from the entertainment industry a year ago, she had served as a Hermes brand ambassador for 3 years. Although she ultimately terminated her contract amicably due to her marriage to Suzette, Gao Luofei remained a highly esteemed member, second only to him in terms of prestige as a Diamond Black Card holder. Since the store manager stated that this Birkin bag was only available to VIP customers, Gao Luofei wanted to see how the manager would respond. Upon being questioned by Gao Luofei, the store manager felt somewhat uneasy. He was certain that someone possessing such confidence and a powerful aura couldn't possibly come from an ordinary family. Although he felt he might have bitten off more than he could chew, the words were already spoken, and there was no going back. Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, you've come at the perfect time. Our new Hermes Birkin bag for this year has just arrived, and we're sure you'll love it, Ms. Gao, the store manager, seeing that President Zhou Zinai, Suzette, and Gao Luofei were approaching, realized there wasn't enough time. Hearing Gao Luofei's question, the manager quickly added, this Birkin bag is only available to Hermes Diamond Black Card members. Hearing the mention of the Diamond Black Card, Gao Luofei glanced at Suzette standing beside her. She didn't have one, but Suzette certainly did. Hearing the manager mention the Diamond Black Card, Ma Jin asked in surprise, Manager, are you sure this Birkin bag is only available to Diamond Black Card members? Ma Jin herself had a Hermes membership card, and her father, Ma Ji, had a Hermes Supreme membership card. Having watched the live stream, Ma Jin was naturally quite familiar with the Diamond Black Card. If it really is only for Diamond Black Card members, then not only Suzette and Gao Luofei in front of her, but even she herself wouldn't be eligible. Diamond Black Card? What's that? Is it some new membership level from Hermes? Come on, get me one too. Upon hearing the store manager mention the Diamond Black Card, Ma Ji spoke with an air of wealth and nonchalance, like a spoiled rich kid who didn't care about money. Dad? No. Hearing her father's words, Ma Jin, knowing the true extent of her family's wealth, quickly stopped him. Her family's assets were still far from the amount required to obtain a Diamond Black Card. Seeing his daughter's expression, Ma Ji understood that she must know what this Diamond Black Card was, and with a puzzled look, he asked her, Qian, didn't you want this Birkin bag? Dad will get you a Diamond Black Card, then you can buy that Birkin bag directly. Hearing her father's question, Ma Jin told him everything she had learned from the viewers in the live stream. Upon learning exactly what the Diamond Black Card was, even the well-informed and wealthy Ma Ji was shocked by the application requirements. Having assets of over 500 million was somewhat acceptable to Ma Ji, but requiring a cumulative purchase of Hermes products exceeding 50 million was simply unacceptable. Good heavens, over 50 million in luxury goods. Even if Ma Ji had 500 million in assets, let alone his current total assets of just over 100 million, he couldn't possibly spend a tenth of his wealth on Hermes luxury goods. At this moment, Ma Ji understood why his daughter had stopped him. He really couldn't afford the Diamond Black Card. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter that he wasn't a Diamond Black Card holder, and neither were Suzette or Gao Luofei. Dad, the only known person to have this Diamond Black Card is Suzette, the owner of Yaoli Glass Group. We may not be able to afford it, but we're not Diamond Black Card holders. Suzette is worth billions. Our family can compare, but Dad, some people aren't even as well off as our family. Ms. Gao, are you a Hermes Diamond Black Card holder? Ma Jin said sarcastically. Hearing Ma Jin's sarcastic words, Gao Luofei wasn't angry at all. Instead, she said calmly but firmly, I am indeed not a Hermes Diamond Black Card holder, but my husband is. He is? Are you kidding me? Ma Jin said, as if she found Gao Luofei's words hilarious. How could Suzette possibly be a Diamond Black Card holder? Not only Ma Jin, but even Ma Ji and the store manager didn't believe Gao Luofei's words. Even Song Wei looked skeptical. Suzette didn't seem like a Diamond Black Card holder at all. Chapter 117 Bingbing sees through Suzette and Gao Luofei. Mr. Su, thank you for your continued patronage of Hermes over the years. I heard today is your wedding anniversary with Ms. Gao. On such a joyous occasion, it's fate that we met. The new Birkin bag designed by Hermes chief handbag designer, Julianne, is specially designed for a loving newlywed couple like you. I think Ms. Gao will be very pleased with this Birkin bag. Zhou Zinai warmly greeted Suzette and Gao Luofei. After speaking, the group arrived at the leather goods section. Upon entering, Zhou Zinai heard Ma Jin's rather unpleasant voice. I'm not saying this to be mean, but don't you even think before you brag? How could you possibly be a diamond black card holder? See Suzette and Gao Luofei outside. If you really were a diamond black card holder, that's the treatment you deserve. Ma Jin's words were harsh, and Zhou Zinai frowned upon hearing them. Clearly, Zhou Zinai's mood was sour because of this incident. Now, feeling Zhou Zinai's gaze, the shop manager sensed a chill. Her impression of Gao Luofei was now extremely negative. You told me, this Birkin bag is only available to diamond black card holders. What's a diamond black card? You can count the number of people who have it on one hand in the whole country. You say your husband has one, so what? I could say my dad has one too. Instead of reflecting on her own actions, the shop manager placed all the blame on Suzette and Gao Luofei. She didn't consider that if she had handled the situation fairly, there wouldn't have been so much trouble. Meanwhile, Bingbing, following behind the crowd, was looking around, looking for anyone who might be associated with Suzette and Gao Luofei. When Bingbing heard Ma Jin's words, her gaze immediately fell upon them. Bingbing glanced at the shop manager, Ma Jin, and Ma Ji, then looked away. Her attention was immediately drawn to Suzette and Gao Luofei. There was no other reason than the extraordinary aura emanating from these two individuals. Especially their eyes, which shone like stars in the night sky, exceptionally bright. Suzette, Fei, Bingbing felt a profound sense of familiarity emanating from them. This feeling was something she could only sense from Suzette and Gao Luofei. Bingbing was absolutely certain that these two were the Suzette and Gao Luofei she had been searching for. Although their appearances had drastically changed, making them completely different people, who else could they be but Suzette and Gao Luofei? Upon seeing Suzette and Gao Luofei, Bingbing immediately understood that the candle dragon must be within Suzette. If that were the case, Bingbing guessed that Luo and might not know that the Suzette and Gao Luofei she was protecting were real people. At this moment, Bingbing was curious to see what the security department, which had been working tirelessly to protect Suzette and Gao Luofei, would think after discovering that what they were protecting was merely a virtual reality image created by the candle dragon. After confirming Suzette and Gao Luofei's identities, Bingbing's pretty face immediately furrowed. From their earlier conversation, Bingbing understood that Suzette and Gao Luofei had gotten into conflict with a couple in front of her. Manager, what happened here? Hearing Zhou Zinai's question, the manager immediately gave a brief account of the situation, naturally downplaying the main points. Apparently, it was because of the conflict she had just had with Suzette and Gao Luofei over the platinum bag. Zhou Zinai knew that the manager hadn't told her the whole story, but she was currently entertaining Suzette and Gao Luofei and didn't have time to deal with the matter. Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, I'm sorry you had to witness this, Zhou Zinai said apologetically to Suzette and Gao Luofei with a smile. Dad, the handsome man and beautiful woman being protected inside are Suzette and Gao Luofei, Ma Jin said to her father, Ma Ji, pointing to Suzette and Gao Luofei, who were surrounded by security personnel. Hearing his daughter's words, Ma Ji's eyes lit up. He immediately forgot about the Birkin bag. Forget the Birkin bag, as long as he secured a deal with Suzette's Yaoli Glass Group, he could have anything he wanted. Even though Suzette didn't know him, Ma Ji, and might not even have heard of him, that didn't stop Ma Ji from shamelessly approaching Suzette. Shamelessness was nothing, as long as there was money, anything was negotiable. Doing business required a thick skin. If you couldn't even be shameless, how could you do business with strangers? Especially when the person you were negotiating with was far superior to you in terms of social status and wealth. When Guo and his group saw Ma Ji approaching Suzette, they immediately became vigilant. After all, who could guarantee that a stranger wouldn't suddenly attack? Seeing the well-trained bodyguards surrounding Suzette and Gao Luofei, Ma Ji showed an envious expression. As expected of a big shot, even the bodyguards they hire are so well-mannered. When I'm rich, I'll hire a group of bodyguards like that too. Ma Ji approached Suzette and Gao Luofei step by step. When he was about 3 meters away, Ma Ji could sense that getting any closer would be life-threatening. Therefore, Ma Ji stopped, a fawning expression appearing on his chubby face. He greeted Suzette, saying, Mr. Su, hello, I'm Ma Ji, the head of Kaianji Company. I've long heard of your reputation, and seeing you today, I can see you're truly extraordinary. Mr. Su, you're a big shot, you must not have heard of me or my company. Let me introduce myself. Our company mainly sells glass raw materials. Chapter 118. Let's verify the authenticity of the card. President Su, our Kaianji company is extremely powerful. If we are fortunate enough to cooperate with you, We will do our utmost to complete our collaboration. Maji spoke with considerable skill. In just a few words, he explained his own situation and that of his company to Suzette. As for Suzette, after Maji finished speaking, he remained expressionless, only nodding slightly to indicate that he understood. Seeing this, Maji didn't think much of it, assuming that Suzette was always like this. Little did Maji know that Suzette acted this way simply because Yuling had automatically categorized him as a hostile individual. And this was exactly how Suzette acted towards those he considered hostile. When Bingbing heard that Maji's intention was to cooperate with Suzette, she instantly laughed. That's hilarious. He offended Suzette just now, and now he's thinking of cooperating with his company. I don't know what he's thinking. Bingbing was also exasperated with Maji. You want to cooperate with Suzette, but you've already offended him terribly. What's the point? Xiaolan, who was following Bingbing, noticed Bingbing's expression after hearing Maji's words. Confused by Bingbing's hesitant and somewhat speechless expression, she asked, Bingbing, what's wrong? Did something happen? Hearing Xiaolan's question, Bingbing, wanting to keep it a secret, decided to let Suzette and the others tell her later. She waved her hand and whispered to Xiaolan, Sister Lan, you'll know when the time comes. It's not convenient for me to say now. Having said that, Xiaolan felt embarrassed to ask further. She simply kept her curiosity to herself, wondering what was causing Bingbing's reaction. Meanwhile, Bingbing's conversation with Xiaolan, along with Maji's earlier words and actions, were being observed by the viewers in the live stream. Bingbing's words also piqued the curiosity of many viewers in the live stream. The live stream was buzzing with excitement, fueled by first-hand witnessing the recent spy incident. As news spread and many had never actually been inside a Hermes store, curiosity about its interior grew. The number of viewers and the level of engagement in the live stream remained consistently high. Initially, the presentation by Molly had become somewhat monotonous, and while Zhou Zenai, the female CEO, joined in, the novelty wore off quickly. Having seen so many attractive people like Suzette and Gao Luofei, the viewers' tastes had suddenly evolved. Now, hearing Bingbing and Xiaolan's meaningful words, the viewers perked up immediately. I have a feeling something serious is going on that we don't know about. What is Bingbing hiding from us this time? I'm so curious, but one thing's for sure, this definitely has something to do with Maji. Maji's face, it makes me feel uneasy. That woman must be his daughter. She's so arrogant and spoiled, a total princess. Compared to her, that young couple seems much more agreeable. Yeah, I agree, that young couple is much more pleasing to the eye, but the woman in that couple's words are a bit unpleasant. Judging from her clothes, the man doesn't have any luxury brand logos on him. How could he possibly have a Hermes diamond black card? His girlfriend must have acted impulsively without thinking. Let me tell you, based on my experience, you can't be with a woman like that. She's likely to cause trouble. You can't just say she's vain or lying. What if she really does have a diamond black card? Impossible, absolutely impossible. The viewers in the live stream were enthusiastically discussing whether Suzette's words were true or false. For them, it was just fodder for conversation, but it was different when facing Zhou Zenai. Under Zhou Zenai's gaze, Gao Luofei walked up to her expressionlessly. Upon closer inspection, Gao Luofei, who had thought herself quite tall for a woman, realized she was actually shorter than Gao Luofei. President Zhou, is this Birkin bag only available to Diamond Black Card members? During Gao Luofei's last year as Hermes's spokesperson, Zhou Zenai was serving as the president of the domestic region, so Gao Luofei had met with Zhou Zenai a few times and had some dealings with her. Faced with Gao Luofei's question, Zhou Zenai didn't answer directly, but she also didn't give a definitive answer, instead vaguely stating, Madam, because this Birkin bag is the first of its kind in China, according to Hermes's relevant regulations and principles, except in very rare cases, Diamond Black Card members do indeed have priority in purchasing new products. In short, the higher the membership level, the greater the purchasing privileges. Gao Luofei nodded slightly, indicating she understood. After answering Gao Luofei's question, Zhou Zenai asked her, I wonder if what you just said is true? Could you please let me verify the authenticity of the card? Although she didn't know if it was true or not, Zhou Zenai wanted to maintain sufficient respect for a potential Diamond Black Card customer before confirming it. If it was true, then she hadn't offended the person. If it was false, then she would be kicked out and added to Hermes's blacklist forever. At the same time, Gao Luofei glanced in the direction of Suzette and Gao Luofei, In that single glance, Gao Luofei saw Bingbing staring at her. When Bingbing saw Gao Luofei looking at her, she slightly raised her left hand, revealing a look and gesture only the two of them knew. Gao Luofei, seeing Bingbing's look and gesture, understood that Bingbing had recognized her. She gave Bingbing a look, and then Bingbing understood that her good friend was about to show off. "Honey, give me the card." Gao Luofei's tone was full of confidence as she deftly reached out to Suzette for the card. Chapter 119 How could the diamond black card possibly be real? Suzette supported whatever Gao Luofei wanted to do. Since Gao Luofei wanted the diamond black card, Suzette took it out of his pocket and placed it in Gao Luofei's soft palm. Taking the diamond black card from Suzette, Gao Luofei glanced at it and said softly, "Honey, you've got the wrong one. This is Louis Vuitton." After receiving the Hermes diamond black card, Gao Luofei saw that no one at the scene recognized her under the disguise of this Hulin, and a different thought arose in her mind. The performance of this Hulin was already excellent enough, and Gao Luofei believed that after what had just happened, interested people at home and abroad must have noticed it. However, Gao Luofei felt that the miniaturization of this Hulin, which others were very pessimistic about, had actually been achieved by her husband. If this matter were to be exposed, it would definitely increase Suzette's prestige in the eyes of the public and the country. Moreover, if it were exposed, it wouldn't actually have any impact on her. Although her appearance had been exposed, all Suzette needed to do was use Candle Dragon to change both her and Suzette's faces, and who would notice? Therefore, after calculating in her mind, Gao Luofei spoke to Suzette. Hearing Gao Luofei's words, Suzette glanced up. He was certain that the diamond black card he had given Gao Luofei wasn't Louis Vuitton, but Hermes. However, seeing the cunning look in Gao Luofei's eyes, Suzette understood immediately. It seemed Gao Luofei was planning something. Since Gao Luofei was willing to do this, Suzette would naturally cooperate fully. After all, he was the one who doted on her. Suzette slapped his forehead, feigning regret for taking the wrong card, and put it back in his pocket. He then pretended to rummage in his pocket, and after a while, finally took out the Hermes diamond black card. Taking the diamond black card, Gao Luofei, seeing that Suzette understood her intentions, gave Suzette a loving look. Then he turned to Zhou Zenai and handed her the card. However, the little incident earlier only made Zhou Zenai more certain that the diamond black card Gao Luofei had given her was most likely fake. 666. Didn't these two do any research before putting on this act? Louis Vuitton diamond black card, Hermes diamond black card? Does he think he's Professor Su, with two diamond black cards? I'm dying of laughter. This is hilarious. If it were me, I would have run away by now. Why would I still be here, daring to show the diamond black card to Zhou Zenai to verify its authenticity? Bingbing, seeing this, understood immediately. It wasn't that Suzette had given her the wrong card, it was clearly Suzette cooperating with Gao Luofei's performance. These two together were really different from before. They had learned to live life. Who would have thought that the Ice Queen known throughout the country would have this side to her? However, since there was a good show to watch, Bingbing stood there quietly without saying a word, simply watching Suzette and Gao Luofei with expectant eyes, as if she were watching a good show. I don't know where you got the guts to impersonate the holder of the diamond black card. If it were me, I would have run away in shame by now. You have no shame at all. President Zhou is the president of Hermes. Don't you know that time is money? Wasting his time here is really bad luck. Seeing this scene, Majin mocked, her words carrying a hint of respect for Zhou Zenai. However, Zhou Zenai did not show any obvious change in expression in the face of Majin's respect. Because in fact, Zhou Zenai did not have much goodwill towards Majin and Maji. Although she felt that the diamond black card was very likely fake, seeing is believing, and Zhou Zenai had to judge for herself whether it was real or not. As for Maji, seeing that Suzette and Gao Luofei were no longer paying attention to him, he understood how annoying it was to talk, so he didn't say anything more and just stood aside, waiting to see Suzette and Gao Luofei's performance. Taking the diamond black card from Gao Luofei, Zhou Zenai felt a familiar touch as soon as she held it in her hand. This touch was unique to Hermes' specially made diamond black cards. Zhou Zenai thought she had made a mistake, and while carefully touching it, she picked up the diamond black card and examined it closely. As the president of Hermes' domestic region, Zhou Zenai had memorized the anti-counterfeiting features of the diamond black card. However, the more she examined the anti-counterfeiting features to verify the authenticity of this diamond black card, the more flawless it seemed, with no trace of forgery. The only suspicious thing was the ZS mark on the corner of the diamond black card. But wasn't that ZS mark Souza's? How could it be here? Josenai's meticulous examination drew everyone's attention. HMPH, this diamond black card is genuine. No matter how much you check, it can't be fake, Bing Bing thought to herself, observing Josenai's earnest expression. Everyone had assumed that Josenai would immediately announce the diamond black card was fake after receiving it. Unexpectedly, Josenai examined it carefully for so long without revealing her findings. The machine might malfunction, but Josenai's eyes couldn't lie. This diamond black card was indeed real. Finally, after finding no trace of a forgery, Josenai solemnly returned the diamond black card to Gao Luofei. This time, Josenai's expression was even more respectful than before. Seeing everyone's gaze fixed on her, Josenai replied, "The diamond black card that Ms. Gao presented is genuine." Seeing this, Ma Jin's face darkened, revealing disbelief. How is that possible? How could he possibly have a diamond black card? I don't believe it. Why is chapter 120's number exactly the same as Souza's? Upon hearing Josenai's news, not only Ma Jin, but also the viewers in the live stream couldn't believe it. Question mark? It's actually true, unbelievable. Could Josenai have misjudged? Josenai is the president of Hermes. Does she think she's less discerning than you netizens? Have rich people become so unique these days? Her clothes don't look like those of a billionaire at all. Exactly. If I were a billionaire, at least a big gold chain and a big watch would be standard. That woman doesn't look that pretty. She's not even as beautiful as me. Do you guys remember? That couple just had a Louis Vuitton diamond black card. If the Hermes diamond black card is real, then that means the Louis Vuitton diamond black card is very likely real too. Holy crap, I remember Professor Su only had Hermes and Louis Vuitton diamond black cards. I thought only Professor Su had them, but I didn't expect to run into another big shot today. As for Song Wei, she was also startled. She didn't expect to receive such a big shot on her first day of work. The key point is that Song Wei wasn't as difficult to deal with as he had initially thought. She was surprisingly approachable. As for Ma Ji, he barely touched the sweat on his brow. Someone with a diamond black card was not someone a man with a net worth of just over 100 million could even dream of. However, while still feeling lingering fear, Ma Ji was also somewhat relieved. He was glad that the person he had offended wasn't really related to his industry. If he had offended Suzanne, his opportunity to cooperate with Yaoli Glass Group would definitely have been ruined. His situation would have been devastating. This incident also served as a reminder to Ma Ji, appearances can be deceiving. Even landlords wear vests and slippers. There might be wealthy people as unassuming as Suzanne. The Hermes store manager, however, was dumbfounded. She hadn't expected to be so blind, ignoring a truly great person and instead going after someone as insignificant as Ma Ji. The Hermes store manager was filled with regret. She knew she was definitely out of a job. Besides the manager, Molly wasn't much better off. If Molly had remained consistent, these two diamond black card customers were her clients. According to Hermes Group rules, satisfying diamond black card customers meant more than just bonuses. The most important thing was gaining exposure to upper management, potentially leading to promotions, raises, or even management positions. She wouldn't need to be a salesperson anymore, and now Song Wei had stolen all that. However, Molly was also fantasizing that if her attentive service to Susan and Gao Luofei had satisfied them, the outcome wouldn't be too bad. Regardless of whether Molly believed it or not, and regardless of others' reactions, since Josenai confirmed the diamond black card was legitimate, Susan and Gao Luofei were now Hermes diamond black card VIPs. Since he possessed a diamond black card, according to Susan's VIP status, he wouldn't need to purchase accessories when buying Hermes products, regardless of the item. President Joe, since I'm a diamond black card user, am I eligible to buy this Birkin bag? Josenai asked upon hearing Gao Luofei's words. You're a diamond black card VIP, of course you are. While everyone was still reeling from this news, Josenai respectfully addressed Susan and Gao Luofei again. Madam, starting this month, our group has upgraded the privileges for diamond black card users. Each diamond black card has a 5 million yuan free purchase quota. If you haven't used it yet, you can get your desired product free. Hearing about the free purchase, Gao Luofei immediately held up her diamond black card to Josenai and said, I haven't used the quota. After all, This diamond black card had been under the feet of the initial mech for 3 months. The quota was definitely unused. Hearing Gao Luofei's words, Zhou Zinai gave Song Wei a look, and Song Wei quickly went to retrieve the machine. Song Wei, being a novice, wasn't sure where the special machine was located. Thanks to the store's experienced staff, they finally found the machine for the special black card. Ms. Gao, let me help you operate it. This kind of task was naturally left to Song Wei. After speaking, Song Wei took the Hermes diamond black card from Gao Luofei and began operating the machine. After a series of operations, Song Wei said to Suzette, "This card is yours, Mr. Su, right? Please enter the password." Password? Hearing Song Wei's words, Suzette looked puzzled. Suzette really didn't know that the Hermes diamond black card had a password. He was certain Songzhou hadn't told him. He was sure Songzhou himself had forgotten. Are there other verification methods? Hearing Suzette's question, Song Wei maintained her smile and continued, "Your diamond black card doesn't have a fingerprint registered. Besides the password, you can use facial recognition." Facial recognition? For Suzette, the photo Songzhou used when applying for this card was definitely his own. However, Suzette's face had been virtualized by Candle Dragon, so it was impossible for him to pass the test. Therefore, as a second best option, Suzette said to Song Wei, "Please wait a moment, let me ask for the password." After saying that, Suzette picked up his phone and walked aside to call Songzhou. At the same time, Ma Jin's gaze swept over the diamond black card. ZS, Ma Jin noticed that the serial number on this diamond black card was exactly the same as the one she had seen yesterday. Diamond black cards are known to have unique serial numbers. How could 2 diamond black cards have the exact same serial number? Chapter 121 Suzette and Gao Luofei are liars. Thieves. However, this was just Ma Jin's own conjecture. Everything depended on Hermes' confirmation. Ma Jin asked Zhou Zinai, "Ms. Zhou, if 2 people have the same name, will their Hermes diamond black cards have the same serial number?" Although she didn't understand why Ma Jin asked this, Zhou Zinai replied, "No, if 2 people have the same name, we will use special symbols to distinguish them when making the cards." After saying this, Zhou Zinai seemed to immediately understand why Ma Jin asked this. Zhou Zinai remembered that the serial number on this diamond black card was ZS, which was exactly Suzette's diamond black card's serial number. Sure enough, the next moment, after receiving confirmation from Zhou Zinai, Ma Jin's expression was one of smug satisfaction, as if she had uncovered a great secret. Seeing Ma Jin's expression, Gao Luofei, Guo, Sun Li, Zhaolan, and the viewers in the live stream were all baffled. Although this matter had indeed had a significant impact on her, this was just too exaggerated. Holy crap, has this woman developed some kind of mental illness because of this? Her mentality is too fragile. She only has herself to blame. Who told her to look down on people in the first place? This kind of crazy woman should stay at home. Coming out here is just causing trouble. Indeed, disease is the most fair. It doesn't care whether you're rich or poor. Amidst the puzzled gazes of the crowd, Ma Jin immediately pointed at Suzette and Gao Luofei and shouted, "You 2 are really clever. If you hadn't exposed yourselves, even I would have been fooled. I admit you disguised yourselves very well. From the beginning, through your coordinated actions, you focused everyone's attention on the Hermes diamond black card, making people subconsciously believe that the diamond black card was yours. People, including myself, wouldn't doubt whether the diamond black card was yours, but only its authenticity, whether it was real or fake. Actually, the diamond black card was real from the beginning, so no matter how President Zhou examined it, the diamond black card was definitely real. However, who would have thought that this diamond black card actually doesn't belong to you, but to Professor Su? I bet Professor Su can't find his own diamond black card right now, because that diamond black card with the ZS mark is right here on this machine. Although I don't know how you stole Professor Su's diamond black card, the facts are there for all to see. Let's see how you deny it now. You 2 are liars. Thieves. Wow. Ma Jin's words stunned everyone. Wow, what Ma Jin said actually makes some sense. Makes sense. I don't think it makes any sense at all. Who is Professor Su? He has so many bodyguards around him, how could he possibly have anything stolen from him? Yeah, as someone in the know, I can subtly tell you that someone of Professor Su's caliber is protected at a level comparable to a local official. Stealing? Go to sleep, you'll dream about it. Before everyone could even process what was going on, they saw Zhou Zinai, her face grim, say to the protected Suzette and Gao Luofei, "Professor Su, check if the diamond black card is still on you." Upon hearing this, the viewers in the live stream were all stunned. Could it be that what Ma Jin said was true? Bingbing had thought the matter was over, but Ma Jin's observation skills were surprisingly sharp, directly spotting the problem with the diamond black card. Besides Suzette and Gao Luofei, the two involved parties, the person who knew best what was going to happen was Bingbing. It's important to know that the Suzette and Gao Luofei that everyone is seeing are both virtual characters created by Zhulan. Since they are virtual characters, how could they possibly produce anything? Produce the diamond black card? How could he possibly produce that? Haha, this is going to be interesting, Bingbing muttered after hearing Zhou Zenai's words. Bingbing's muttering wasn't loud, but because of their positions, Zhaolan and Bingbing were standing very close together. So, Zhaolan vaguely and intermittently heard Bingbing's words. Can't produce it? How does Bingbing know? Zhaolan was very surprised. How did Bingbing know whether the diamond black card was on Suzette or not? However, just as Zhaolan was still pondering, Suzette, under everyone's gaze, shook his head and said, "It's not with me." As soon as Suzette said this, the expressions on the faces of everyone watching the scene and the live broadcast became quite interesting. If Suzette couldn't produce it, then what Ma Jin said was true. This, holy crap, the story has taken a turn. We thought it was a hidden master, but it turns out he's just a thief. How could they steal Professor Su's diamond black card in front of so many people? Their thieving skills are amazing. How did they do it? Telling them might even be considered meritorious service. Oh no, Barbecue is in trouble. Is a diamond black card considered a major asset? If so, these two will probably be locked up for a while. Compared to the others, Zhaolan looked at Bingbing and Suzette with curiosity. How did Bingbing know that Suzette didn't have the diamond black card? Could it be? Thinking of that possibility, Zhaolan shook her head. Definitely impossible. Bingbing and Gao Luofei are so close, she must have found out from Gao Luofei. Ms. Gao, how do you explain this? Thinking that she had been tricked and completely manipulated, Zhou Zenai stared at Gao Luofei with a very gloomy face and said in a very cold tone. Chapter 122 The Fearless Consort Gao. The thought of almost being fooled by Suzette and Gao Luofei made Zhou Zenai's face turn ugly. If she had truly mistaken Suzette and Gao Luofei for diamond black card members and successfully obtained a free order, then regardless of the reason, losing money would be the least of her worries. This would be a huge mistake, and she could forget about continuing as the president of the domestic region. Moreover, she would be subject to strict investigation to see if it was an accident or a premeditated scheme. Because of this incident, Zhou Zenai's attitude towards Ma Jin changed slightly. After all, if it weren't for Ma Jin, she wouldn't have discovered it. Seeing Zhou Zenai's questioning manner and words towards Gao Luofei, the viewers in the live broadcast room and the onlookers at the scene thought that Gao Luofei should be trembling uncontrollably now that the two had been exposed. However, Gao Luofei, facing Zhou Zenai's questioning, remained very calm, as if the matter was nothing to her, without any panic. After all, the diamond black card belonged to Suzette, so what was there for her to panic about? Seeing this, Zhou Zenai assumed Gao Luofei was unaware of the seriousness of the matter and said, "Ms. Gao, I'm telling you responsibly that your actions have seriously violated the law. Regarding any reputational issues or damages you have caused to our company, we will pursue your legal responsibility later." However, facing Zhou Zenai's words, Gao Luofei showed no fear whatsoever. Instead, she continued to look at her with great interest. Is this guy surnamed Gao ignorant or fearless? He's broken the law, and he's still so calm. Let's see if he can stay calm when the police arrive. Do you think his accomplice ran away when things got bad? Ran away? No way. What kind of society is this? With big data, where can he run to? But I'm a little curious, how did these two steal the diamond black card? Amazing, that thieving skill deserves a 3-year sentence as a sign of respect. Bingbing, can you tell me how you know? Zhaolan looked at the scene before her, recalling the images Bingbing had described earlier, and asked Bingbing. Sister Lan, I really can't tell you that, but if there's anything you want to know, I can give you a little hint. Bingbing saw Zhaolan's inquisitive eyes. Bingbing understood that since she had already said that, Zhaolan's repeated questions meant she was very eager. Although Bingbing couldn't tell her directly, she could still subtly answer Zhaolan's questions in advance. Upon hearing Bingbing's words, Zhaolan couldn't wait to ask, Bingbing, is Ms. Go alright? Hearing Zhaolan's question, Bingbing answered without hesitation, with absolute certainty. She'll be fine. Seeing Bingbing's resolute words, Xiaolan blurted out, why? Xiaolan couldn't understand why Bingbing was so certain. This matter, while potentially serious, depended on how things developed. But now, Bingbing was saying without hesitation that Suzette and Gao Luofei were alright, which Xiaolan found very perplexing. Seeing Xiaolan ask again, Bingbing pondered for a moment before uttering words that surprised Xiaolan greatly. Because that diamond black card definitely belongs to her husband. Brother Zet, isn't today your wedding anniversary with your wife? Why are you calling me now? Is something wrong? Suzette's call to Songzhou finally connected after a long dialing. Upon connecting, Suzette heard Songzhou's slightly breathless voice. Without even thinking, Suzette understood why Songzhou hadn't answered his call immediately. If you have something to do, go ahead and do it. Hearing Suzette's words, Songzhou immediately understood and explained, Brother Zet, you misunderstood. I'm shopping with Marui right now. What's up? Shopping with women is really tiring. Songzhou's calves were already aching and he didn't want to move. Hearing Songzhou's explanation, Suzette realized he had misunderstood him. What's the pin for that Hermes diamond black card you gave me? Suzette asked Songzhou. Hearing Suzette's question, Songzhou said in surprise, Pin? What pin? Songzhou was also very surprised that the diamond black card had a pin. Clearly, he didn't know what the pin was either. It's like this, Suzette briefly explained the problem he was facing. After hearing Suzette finish explaining the situation, Songzhou exclaimed with delight, Brother Zet, you're also at the central shopping plaza? Perfect timing. I'm here too. I remember the Hermes saleswoman who helped me with a membership card also works at that store. I can ask her when I get there. I'm heading over now. Hearing Songzhou's words, Suzette told her his location and then returned to the Hermes boutique. Back at the Hermes boutique, seeing the wary and disgusted looks on everyone's faces, Suzette understood from Gao Luofei why things had turned out this way. Suzette didn't react in any particular way. Seeing that Suzette's reaction was the same as Gao Luofei's, a completely indifferent expression, everyone was speechless. Like attracts like, this couple reacted identically to such a criminal act. It was truly remarkable. Meanwhile, in the crowd, Xiaolan was pondering the meaning behind Bingbing's words. This diamond black card clearly belongs to Suzette, so why would anyone say that the boy is holding his? Suddenly, a thought flashed through Xiaolan's mind, and she realized a possibility. Could it be that the boy is Suzette? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 Holy crap, Zejet, what happened to you? The thought of this possibility, though seemingly absurd, wasn't entirely impossible. After all, don't forget, Suzette possessed Candle Dragon. Once she accepted this fact, Xiaolan understood what had just happened. She also understood why Bingbing had said what she did. After understanding everything, Xiaolan's feelings shifted to Bingbing's. She no longer had her previous demeanor and began watching the drama unfold with interest. Seeing Suzette and Gao Luofei's reaction, Zhou Zinai decided not to talk to them anymore. She picked up her phone, ready to call the police to take them away. However, her hand was stopped by Guo beside her. Under their tight protection, the theft of Suzette's diamond black card was a huge deal, naturally requiring the handling of the security department. Zhou Zinai didn't know Guowen's identity. She was astonished that a mere bodyguard dared to stop her. Although this bodyguard was tall and burly, who was Zhou Zinai? She wouldn't tolerate such insolence from a mere bodyguard. What about her dignity? Already in a bad mood, Zhou Zinai was instantly enraged and about to lash out when she saw the bodyguard reach into his pocket and pull out an identification card. He opened it and said, "Security Department, Ms. Zhou, please cooperate." The bright national emblem on the black leather card and the information marked on it clearly indicated that this bodyguard she thought was a member of the security department. Zhou Zinai, of course, knew exactly what the security department was. Instantly, Zhou Zinai broke out in a cold sweat. Luckily, she hadn't said anything harsh, otherwise, she would have been targeted by the security department, and charges of obstructing official business and insulting public officials would have been enough to make her suffer. Seeing Zhou Zinai stop what she was doing, Guoan withdrew his identification card and then looked sharply at Suzette and Gao Luofei. Security department, damn, I should have known. So professional. They're definitely not ordinary bodyguards, but I never expected it to be the security department. What's so surprising about that? I'm not surprised at all. Professor Su's status speaks for itself. This is to be expected. The security department is involved. This makes things difficult. These two had no choice but to steal from Professor Su. What bad luck, they're definitely not getting out of here for at least 3 to 5 years. Guoan had been watching the two from the beginning, but he never expected that Suze's diamond black card had ended up in someone else's hands. Guoan carefully recalled the events in his mind, but found no flaws. Since he couldn't figure it out, he would ask the parties involved. Moreover, Guoan discovered that these two had extremely strong mental fortitude. Even though they had been exposed, they remained so calm and collected. This was highly unusual. Such mental fortitude is rare under normal circumstances. It's usually only possessed by those who have undergone professional psychological training. This made Guoan, who had just experienced the kidnapping of Suzette, extremely sensitive, suspecting that the two were from an opposing force. Brother Zet, just as Guoan was about to head towards Suzette and Gao Luofei, Song Zhou's voice rang out from outside the Hermes boutique. Soon after, Song Zhou, accompanied by Marui, slowly entered. Behind them, shop assistants from the central plaza helped carry the purchases. They had quite a few bags and packages. The Hermes sales staff were familiar with Song Zhou. After all, he was a regular customer. Therefore, as soon as Song Zhou entered, a familiar salesperson warmly welcomed him. Faced with the Hermes sales staff's enthusiasm, Song Zhou and Marui simply nodded. Their main focus was on Suzette and Gao Luofei in the crowd. Guoan knew Song Zhou. He was Song Zhou's close friend. As for Marui, as a professional technician in the military, Guoan had also reviewed Marui's information because of what happened the previous night. Therefore, Guoan didn't stop Song Zhou and Marui from approaching Suzette and Gao Luofei. Instead, he instructed the others to make way for the two. Brother Zet, do you know how much I've missed you? Reaching Suzette and Gao Luofei, Song Zhou spoke with concern, about to hug Suzette. But to his surprise, instead of the familiar flick on the forehead, he hugged empty air. Under everyone's gaze, Song Zhou discovered he had somehow passed through Suzette. Brother Zet, what happened to you? What happened? Don't scare me. Not only Song Zhou, but Guoan, Zhou Zenai, and the others present also look no better. It's fake. Such a handsome young man, and he's fake. Holy crap, did I time travel? Isn't this kind of seen only in movies? Who invented this technology? It's amazing. If Suzette is virtual, then what about Gao Luofei? Marui's subsequent actions confirmed everyone's guesses. When Marui touched Gao Luofei, the same thing happened as with Song Zhou. Her arm passed straight through Gao Luofei's body. Seeing this, Guoan immediately tensed up. Are you kidding me? The Suzette and Gao Luofei I've been protecting are actually virtual. Where are the real Suzette and Gao Luofei? This, Zhou Zenai was also shocked by this scene. In her understanding, she had never imagined such a thing would happen. The person I worked so hard to introduce was actually virtual. At this moment, Molly felt much better after drinking water and resting. Seeing this scene, and thinking that all her efforts this morning had been in vain, she suddenly felt dizzy and wanted to cry. No wonder Suzette and Gao Luofei didn't seem very interested in the products when I was introducing them. How could a virtual character possibly be interested in real things? Chapter 124 Candle Dragon is a strategic weapon on par with nuclear weapons. As for Ma Ji, he was completely bewildered. What was going on? What was the deal with Suzette and Gao Luofei? Seeing the puzzled look on her father's face, Ma Jin explained to him. After Ma Ji understood the details, he was filled with admiration for Suzette. Qianqian, this is a real big shot. If our family could get in touch with someone like him, we'd be set for life. At the scene, the only people who weren't surprised by what was happening were Bingbing and Xiaolan, who already knew the truth. Their expressions were very calm, a stark contrast to the astonished crowd around them. Bingbing, how did you know that Suzette and Gao Luofei were fake? Xiaolan asked, very curious about how Bingbing had discovered this. Hearing Xiaolan's question, there was no point in hiding anything now, so Bingbing frankly explained Xiaolan's doubts. Oh, I noticed it when that saleswoman named Molly was explaining the bracelet. After listening to Bingbing's explanation, Xiaolan's doubts were finally cleared up. No wonder she hadn't noticed it. It wasn't that her judgment was lacking, but rather that Suze's candle dragon was simply too powerful. At this moment, Zhao Lan's admiration for Suze reached a new level. Bingbing resolved Zhao Lan's doubts, and with Guowen's reaction, Bingbing's doubts were also truly resolved. It turned out that Guowen had been unaware that Suze and Gao Luofei were virtual figures. Not only were the onlookers at the scene quite surprised by this situation, but in the official live stream of Finding Hidden Money, the viewers, following Songzhou and Marui's actions, were as if they had discovered an incredible new continent, maintaining extraordinary enthusiasm. Holy crap, holy crap, holy crap, this is unbelievable. I never thought that Professor Su and Goddess Gao, who were being protected by the crowd, were actually fakes. It's unbelievable. I wonder what the psychological trauma is like for the security department right now. They must be speechless knowing that Suze and Gao Luofei, whom they've been protecting so diligently, are imposters. But seriously, this is too real. Is the Candle Dragon's effect really that incredible? At such close range, after walking for so long, not a single person noticed any flaws. Flaws? Did anyone notice Bingbing's expression? Look at Bingbing's expression now. She doesn't show any surprise at all. Yeah, Bingbing has been expressionless the whole time. It seems like she expected this all along, not just Bingbing. Look at Zhao Lan, although she's also surprised, compared to the others, she clearly expected this all along. Bingbing is so annoying, she knew all along but didn't tell us. Seriously, Professor Su is a genius. Who said the Candle Dragon can't be miniaturized? Can you see? Professor Su has improved the Candle Dragon to the point where it can be carried around. This technology is so cool. I want to buy it. I'll buy it no matter the price, as long as Zhulin sells it. Don't even think about it. I bet the government officials watching the live stream are also very wary of Zhulin's effects and definitely won't make a move. The many viewers in the live stream were right. Gao Yuanshan and Director Wang, who had been watching the live stream closely, looked very serious. Old Gao, this technology absolutely cannot be stolen by enemy agents, Director Wang said earnestly. A device that can be carried around and can create any virtual character or scene at will has strategic significance comparable to nuclear weapons. This is definitely a strategic level device. If this technology is accidentally leaked and stolen by foreigners, it will be a huge loss to the country. Old Wang, we need to report this matter immediately, hold a meeting to discuss it, and apply to classify Zhulin technology as top secret. Director Wang strongly agreed with Gao Yuanshan's suggestion. Without further ado, the two left Director Wang's house and immediately headed to their destination. Meanwhile, the viewers in the live stream started paying attention to something else. Where were the real Suze and Gao Luofei? Actually, it's understandable that Suze and Gao Luofei did this. After all, it's their wedding anniversary, and this way they can spend a nice day alone. Speaking of which, since these two are virtual, where are the real Suze and Gao Luofei now? Yeah, where did Suze and Gao Luofei go? I think Bingbing definitely knows about this. Goddess Bingbing, just tell us. If you tell us, we won't be angry with you anymore. Yes, yes, Goddess Bingbing, you're the most beautiful. Seeing so many comments praising her beauty in the live stream, Bingbing was a little embarrassed, but secretly very happy. However, although everyone in the live stream praised her, Bingbing didn't intend to reveal the answer directly. Instead, she said, although I know, it would be too boring if I just told you where Suze and Fei Fei are. Given your praise, I'll give you a hint. Actually, Suze and Fei Fei haven't gone far, they've always been within your field of vision. After saying that, Bingbing didn't say anything more. It wasn't too hard to guess to begin with, and after Bingbing's little hint, many people in the live stream suddenly realized they knew where Suze and Gao Luofei were. No way, could it be that Suze and Gao Luofei are them? Holy crap, guys. I think I've discovered something big. Guys, are you all stupid? It's so obvious. That diamond black card is the breakthrough point. Why are they so calm even after being exposed? It's because the diamond black card originally belonged to them. Who would have thought Suze and Gao Luofei could disguise like that? Chapter 125 Dad. This isn't my fault. Wait a minute, look at that young couple. Their physique, height, and appearance are completely different from Professor Su and Goddess Gao. I believe appearance and physique can be altered, but how can height be changed? Hey, are you stupid? You forgot about Professor Su's Candle Dragon. Since he can project such a realistic Suze and Gao Luofei using the Candle Dragon, how could he not change their height? I was wondering why that young couple looked so appealing. They're actually Suzette and Gao Luofei. Wait a minute, I have a question. If that young couple is Suzette and Gao Luofei, then why didn't Suzette know the password to the Diamond Black card when the beautiful Hermes saleswoman asked? I thought you'd come up with something more, but that's all. Don't you think about it? What kind of person is Suzette? A big shot like him wouldn't have gotten the Diamond Black card himself. He must have had someone else do it. It's normal that he didn't know the password. There really are a couple with extraordinary backgrounds and status. Although their appearances have changed so much, their aura remains as unique as ever. No exaggeration, I actually recognized them from the beginning, but I just didn't tell you. Recognized them? You lied without even thinking it through. Do you think we believe you with this hindsight? At this moment, Bingbing, no longer paying much attention to the arguments of the viewers in the live stream, focused her attention on this scene. Among the many people present, there were naturally many intelligent individuals and those watching the live stream. The first to react was Guowen. Team leader Guo, according to our analysis, the people in front of you are Suzette and Gao Luofei themselves. After receiving the analysis results from his team members, Guowen's expression changed immediately. He never expected that life would be so unpredictable. What he had initially thought were foreign spies turned out to be Suzette and Gao Luofei, a married couple. Guo noticed the surrounding situation and knew that Suzette and Gao Luofei's identities would soon be known to everyone. Therefore, Guowen made a hand gesture and then headed towards Suzette and Gao Luofei. When the other members of the security department saw Guowen's hand gesture, they understood what he meant. The group quickly set off towards Suzette and Gao Luofei's location. Not long after the security department group moved, Song Zhou, who hadn't yet figured out what was going on, saw Bingbing's program crew also heading towards that place, led by Bingbing. When Bingbing ran past Song Zhou, who was standing there dumbfounded, Song Zhou quickly stopped her. Looking completely bewildered, Song Zhou asked Bingbing, "Bingbing, why are you running?" Seeing that Song Zhou still didn't understand, Bingbing looked at him with a "how can you be so stupid," and said, "Don't you recognize your brothers? Those two are Suzette and Fifei." After saying that, Bingbing left Song Zhou. Hearing Bingbing's explanation, and with Marui's clarification, Song Zhou finally understood what was going on. Damn, ZGE's device is so cool. I have to get one for him to play with when we get back. What are you muttering about? Let's run, Marui reminded Song Zhou as he muttered. Then Song Zhou saw a large group of people rushing towards him from behind, shouting, "Professor Su, Goddess Gao, I'm here." Seeing this overwhelming momentum, Song Zhou quickly pulled Marui aside, afraid someone might accidentally bump into her. However, before the crowd could even reach them, they were stopped at the Hermes entrance. Seeing all this, the only ones who didn't understand what was happening were probably Zhou Zenai, Ma Ji, the store manager, and a few others. The happiest person at this moment was undoubtedly Song Wei. Song Wei's inner thoughts had undergone a remarkable transformation in this short period. The people I just served were actually Suzette and Gao Luofei themselves. I'm so lucky. I didn't expect such important figures as Suzette and Gao Luofei to be so kind and approachable. Unlike that Mr. Ma compared to Professor Su, he doesn't have much ability, but he has quite a temper. But thinking about it, wasn't that Mr. Ma trying to collaborate with Professor Su? He offended Professor Su so badly just now. Wanting to collaborate is just wishful thinking. Compared to Song Wei, Molly's reaction was completely the other extreme. What did I do to offend Suzette and Gao Luofei? I'm finished. Not only am I out of money, but I've also offended such important figures. I definitely can't keep this job. Maji and his daughter Majin were in no better shape. Qian, tell me, why did they call that young couple Suzette and Gao Luofei? Didn't you say Suzette and Gao Luofei weren't them? Faced with Maji's questioning, Majin burst into tears. Her eyes were brimming with tears, and her face was filled with terror. Majin had always been pampered by Maji and had never seen him angry before. Now, Maji was deeply troubled by the thought of ruining a chance to salvage his situation and offending Suzette and Gao Luofei so badly. Although his daughter was precious, he didn't want them to have to live under a bridge if they ran out of money. As he questioned Majin, his expression unconsciously became quite frightening. Dad, you can't blame me for this. You can only blame Suzette and Gao Luofei. They were perfectly fine. Why were they pretending? If it weren't for you, how could we have offended Suzette and Gao Luofei? Maji said, his voice darkening. I've been too lenient with you before. From today onwards, I have to discipline you properly. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.